My honey, did you notice that there is something wrong with beautiful big sister? Phoenix tilted her head and watched Luluashi slowly disappear into the darkness. My honey, did you notice that there is something wrong with beautiful big sister? Phoenix tilted her head and watched Luluashi slowly disappear into the darkness. Bailey Tianhai came over and said, "Something's wrong. She's even prettier than before." Long Fei looked in the direction she disappeared in, and his brows tightened a little. For some reason, he felt as if Luluashi's heart was in pain, and felt that she was very sad and unhappy. At the same time, he felt relieved. She probably didn't find the person she was looking for. Long Fei muttered in his heart, "If I can't find it, then it's not me?" Actually, when Luluashi appeared, Long Fei's eyes were filled with anticipation. The man who was waiting for Luluashi was him, but Luluashi didn't. Long Fei's heart sank, a little disappointed, but he could also see that if a woman's heart belonged to someone, Long Fei would never snatch it away. A gentleman does not rob others of their loves. Although he wasn't a gentleman, but he didn't like the woman, he liked having other men in her heart. Let's pack our things and get back to work. We still have a mission tomorrow. 300 points per person is not a small amount. There are only 2 months left, so you have to hurry. Long Fei said, in less than 3 months, 300 points. It was very difficult. At least, it would be extremely difficult in ancient antiquity. Moreover, during this process, he would also need to spend time to cultivate. 300 points was only the registration fee for the intersect examination. If he wanted to pass the examination, he would have to become even stronger. While they were packing, Ling Yuan appeared. He paused at the barbecue stand. Zhao Dehan said lightly, "Senior brother, we have closed for the day. If you want to eat barbecue, come back tomorrow." Long Fei looked up and realized that the aura on Ling Yuan's body was not ordinary. Bailey Tianhai also secretly furrowed his brows. The corners of his eyes looked towards Long Fei, and he started to be cautious. Ling Yuan did not say anything, looked at Long Fei, and then walked into the darkness. Bailey Tianhai's heart relaxed and said, "Boss, this guy's aura is so strong. It's as if it's from a mountain. F***K. Are all inner court disciples this strong?" Indeed, when Ling Yuan appeared, it was like a mountain in front of them. This was no ordinary aura. Long Fei said indifferently, "Ancient antiquity is also a hidden dragon and crouching tiger. Your forebrain genius must keep a low profile in the future as well." Bailey Tianhai smirked and laughed. "I, Bailey Tianhai, do not know what it means to be low-key." Long Fei laughed. After a simple cleaning up, the four returned to their residence. Long Fei divided the holy source stones he earned today. Bailey Tianhai was extremely excited and said, "This night, I've earned more than my father's sea city in a year. This is too simple, isn't it?" Zhao Dehan was stupefied and said, "I have never seen so many holy source stones. A city doesn't earn that much a year." It was not that the sea city was lacking. It was just a platform. If he were to sell his barbecue in the sea city, he would probably only have a few holy source stones during this year. With these holy source stones as cultivation resources, he wouldn't need to wait for the ancient antiquity to give him an exception every month. With the help of these holy source stones, his cultivation would be much faster. Long Fei said, "Take this and cultivate. Don't waste it. Let's all cultivate it. We are not here to sell roasted meat. This time, we must succeed in the intersect examination." Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan nodded heavily and said, "Amen." Long Fei gave a portion of the holy source stones to the phoenix and said, "Use them if you want to sell anything in the future." Long Fei was afraid that she would take out a rare source stone, causing many people in the sea city to not move. However, if she took out a rare source stone like that, it would cause a huge commotion and even reveal herself. Phoenix stuck out her tongue. "All right, go rest." Long Fei also returned to his room and sat down to cultivate. After the idea entered the refined space, it directly absorbed the holy source's aura from the 3 holy source stones. Long Fei felt the abundant holy source in his body and muttered, "With this energy, I should be able to cultivate a lot faster, right? Last time, a holy source stone allowed him to break through a level. This time, he still didn't want to break through. He had 30 holy source stones, and he was prepared to absorb all of them in one night. At least a few levels higher? In the sword sect space, Long Fei continuously fought with all his might, but it was simply, since his cultivation had not improved, he was unable to absorb the energy within his body. Very irritable, unsettled. For some reason, he couldn't control this feeling. Never. What's the situation? Why are you so upset? Long Fei muttered, and Luluashi appeared in his mind from time to time. The person she is looking for is not me. Why should I feel uneasy? No reason. The previous quest for the system's 7-meat diagram has been cancelled. Even if he is one of the 7 merits, I don't need to complete the quest now. What's going on? Logically speaking, Long Fei would not have such an uneasy feeling when he was cultivating. However, he was still uneasy right now, and he had been thinking about Luluashi. He couldn't control his thoughts. Could it be that something is going to happen? Long Fei thought about what happened today, thought about what Luluashi had told him today. Even if I helped her, there's no need for her to repay me in such a hurry, unless... Long Fei's pupils suddenly tightened. Crap. Immediately, Long Fei immediately rushed out of the room. At the edge of a cliff at the back of the outer sect, Luluashi sat there, swaying her feet. She lifted her head and opened up the night sky, where only a few stars were shining. Her eyes were filled with tears. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have come to the ancient world. It's so good for me to be by your side. At least I would have accompanied you when you died. I can still accompany you on your journey to the Yellow Springs. Why is that? Heavens, why is that? Why is he suffering so much? Woo-woo. Luluashi began to cry. Tears rolled down his face. Following that, she slowly stood up and looked at the dark cliff. She murmured, "You're no longer here. There is no meaning for me to live by myself. You can risk your life for me, but I can also sacrifice my life for you. Long Fei, wait for me. I'm coming to the underworld to accompany you." While they were talking, Luluashi was about to step into the cliff. It was also at this time. Ling Yuan wanted to stop Luluashi, but a man suddenly rushed out and asked with a heavy voice, "Who did you call out to just now? Were you called Long Fei just now? Is the person you want to wait for Long Fei?" The man was Long Fei who was rushing out. Luluashi stared blankly at Long Fei and said, "It's you? His name is Long Fei, and he is no longer in this world. The Seek Mirror cannot find him." "Damn it, this Seek Mirror." Long Fei said harshly, "I know where Long Fei is. I know where Long Fei is. I know where Long Fei is." In a moment of desperation, Long Fei didn't know what to say. If he wanted to persuade Luluashi, he could only bet on it, betting that Luluashi was his woman. The person Luluashi was betting on was actually him. Very risky. It was also very awkward. If he lost, not only would Long Fei be embarrassed, he would also jump off the cliff. He really was tricked. But no matter what, Long Fei had a bet this time. However, Luluashi did not seem to hear it. She was too sad. Her heart felt like it was dying. She could not listen to what others were saying, and laughed bitterly. "Long Fei? How would you know about someone that can't even find Seek Mirror? Seek Mirror S below Ancient World could find anyone from any plane." This was also why Luluashi risked his life to accumulate points to exchange for something. She trusted Seek Mirror a lot. If there was no one that could be found by the Seek Mirror, then this person definitely was not in this world. The word none that appeared within the Seek Mirror caused her heart to instantly close up. Her entire being became muddled, her mind went blank, and her heart kept saying, "Long Fei is no longer here. Long Fei is dead. He is no longer in this world." His mind was muddled. He couldn't listen to what others were saying. When Long Fei told her where Long Fei was, she did not think much about it, and only smiled bitterly. Looking at the dark cliff, Luluashi smiled faintly and said, "Long Fei, I'll accompany you." He spread out his hands, closed his eyes, and stepped forward. Holy SH*T. Did I lose the bet? Damn you. Even if you lose the bet, you still don't have to be so foolish, do you? Long Fei shouted heavily and ran out at the same time, saying, "Silly woman, don't do anything stupid." It was also at this time. From another place, a man also rushed out as fast as lightning. With a heavy voice, he shouted, "Junior sister, don't." Lu Luoshi did not turn back as he silently thought in his heart, I'm here. I'm here to accompany you. Wait for me." Whoosh! His body fell down. It was instantly swallowed up by darkness. Junior sister. Idiot. Long Fei could not help but curse. Ling Yuan rushed to the edge of the cliff, and looking at the pitch-black abyss, he was completely stunned as he shouted out loud, "Junior sister." Different from him. When Long Fei ran to the edge of the cliff and watched Lu Luoshi jump, he jumped right after him without any hesitation. It was as if he had to jump. What must be done? It was as if he couldn't control it. I really am going to be tricked to death by you." Long Fei cursed in his heart as he dove down. He placed both his hands on his waist to speed up his descent. Ling Yuan, who was at the edge of the cliff, was stunned because he hesitated. But the other man didn't hesitate at all. Seeing Lu Luoshi jumping off the cliff, he immediately jumped down. Seeing Long Fei jumping down, his heart tightened. Why can't I? He frowned, blaming himself. However, he did not jump down again. He knew that if he jumped down, no one would be able to live. His King Swordsman rank could indeed fly. He also had the immortal sword technique. However, this cliff was very different. Beneath it were the roots of the ancient antiquity, and there was an extremely strong suction force coming from within the cliff. Even if he was a King Swordsman rank, he wouldn't be able to hold on for long, let alone bring a person up here. It was also because he knew how powerful this abyss was that he hesitated. The one I love the most is myself. Ling Yuan. Oh, Ling Yuan, why can't you do that? Can't you risk your life for your loved one in this lifetime? How ridiculous. How ridiculous. Ha ha. Ling Yuan roared madly, his heart blaming himself beyond compare. Tears trickled down from the corners of his eyes as he looked at the dark abyss and shouted loudly, "Junior sister, do you know how much I like you? Do you know how many times I've dreamed of you? I used to think that I was the person who liked you the most in this world and was also the person who protected you the most. But what the F***CK? I'm even inferior to a junior who only knows you for a few days. I'm really useless. Ling Yuan, am the most useless trash in the world." He roared and fell to the ground, his hair in a bun. He was like a madman, staring blankly at the night, his eyes glazed over. After a long time, he then crawled up from the ground, looked at the dark abyss, and said indifferently, "Junior sister, I will always remember you, and I will never like anyone ever again. I must enter the divine space. The divine powerhouse of the divine space has a way to revive you from the dead. I can't risk my life for you. I must revive you." Then, Ling Yuan turned around and disappeared into the darkness. And then there was Long Fei. He really couldn't control himself. He had no idea why he was able to jump in without thinking. Acting cool? A hero? Saving a beauty? He did not understand himself. If he knew that this cliff was filled with a special kind of energy, and that once he fell inside, he would be pressed down by that energy and couldn't fly at all, would he still be able to jump down? Holy **T. What the heck is this abyss? Why is it that the lower I go, the heavier my body becomes? Long Fei felt a mountain pressing down on his back. Not to mention flying up, it was difficult for him to even breathe. However, Long Fei saw Lu Luoshi, not far in front of him. At this moment, Lu Luoshi's eyes were closed, his face was calm, and his entire person was waiting for death to befall him. She no longer cared about this world. Her only thought right now was whether or not she could see Long Fei in hell. "Hey, what a fool," Long Fei replied heavily. Lu Luoshi's brows twitched. He looked at Long Fei, who was above her, and was rushing towards himself, and was stunned for a moment. "What are you doing?" Not waiting for him to finish, Long Fei suddenly rushed down and directly hugged her, and even carried her to a place she shouldn't have hugged, as he was stunned for a moment. So big. He even took the opportunity to play a brawler. Both of Lu Luoshi's eyes were filled with anger, and he was about to cut Long Fei apart with his palm. At this time, Long Fei gave a harsh shout. "You idiot, can you listen to what I have to say?" Lu Luoshi's face was filled with anger. The power under his palm surged, and with a heavy sound, he said, "Speak." "That what? Since you're going to die anyway, can you let me have a good time first?" "Pa, it's not that. I wanted to say what? I know where Long Fei is." Long Fei's brain short-circuited. The two of them were too close. He had no idea what he was going to say, and could only say that one sentence. His mind went blank, and could only say one more time, "I know where Long Fei is." His mind went blank, and could only say one more time, "I know where Long Fei is." This was the first time that Lu Luoshi's mind had closed off, and she was wholeheartedly seeking death. She was completely unable to hear what Long Fei was saying, but this time was different. She was going to die soon. The person who fell off this cliff was not yet alive. She was definitely going to die, so she calmed down instead. Long Fei's words stunned her for a moment. Lu Luoshi asked, "Where's Long Fei?" Long Fei said, "Right in front of you." Very serious, very serious. Lu Luoshi laughed contemptuously and said, "Do you think I would believe you? You're Long Fei? Then I'm still the king of hell. If only I were the king of hell, I would be able to bring him back to life." Lu Luoshi's eyes became lonely. Looking at the dark abyss, he mumbled, "I'm going to hell. I'm going to see him. I am really Long Fei." Long Fei didn't know how to prove himself. Lu Luoshi glared at him and said, "Even though you've helped me before, please respect yourself. I don't know how you found out that the man I was waiting for was Long Fei, but please don't insult him. Otherwise, I will kill you before I die." Long Fei was the person she cared the most about. She wouldn't let anyone humiliate him. Long Fei said depressingly, "I really am Long Fei." "Shut up." Lu Luoshi glared at him. "You just touched my body. If it was on top of that, you would already be dead. Now please let go." "Faster." Lu Luoshi was even hugged by Long Fei. Long Fei hugged her from behind. Both of their bodies were tightly pressed together, and that posture was not very harmonious. Then again, Long Fei was a man. With his posture and his hands placed in a place that shouldn't be, even if he could endure it, his second brother would still react. The lady was extremely sensitive to this aspect. Lu Luoshi could feel her reaction the moment she reacted slightly. Anger burned in his eyes. "You can't let go?" Long Fei said, "What do you want me to say before you believe that I am Long Fei? You can't let go?" Lu Luoshi's eyes were gloomy and cold. Long Fei also did not want to explain anymore, and said, "I'm not loose. I'm not loose. What's wrong? If you're capable, bite me, F***K. I am Long Fei. I will not let you die." Not waiting for him to finish. Long Fei's eyes bulged as he shouted, "Relax, relax, quickly relax." Lu Luoshi shook his arm so hard that a piece of his flesh was about to get bitten off. Moreover, Lu Luoshi was really biting the bullet. He did not show any mercy at all. Just bite it so it doesn't loosen up, and it will do as it pleases in the face of death. This was too King ruthless. "Relax. Damn you. You want to do this? Not letting go?" Long Fei was also furious. "If you aren't going to let go of me, then don't blame me." Milk grasping dragon hands. "I'll pinch." Long Fei opened up his 5 fingers and made a grabbing motion. At this time, he was also on the brink of death. That feeling, if it wasn't for the fact that I can't write any novels, I would have been able to come up with 10,000 words. At this moment, Lu Luoshi's face flushed red in anger to the extreme. His entire person also sunk into insanity as he said, "I'll let go, let go." He had no choice. Lu Luoshi loosened his mouth, blood flowing from his teeth. Long Fei's blood. Long Fei was in so much pain that he broke out in a cold sweat. "My flesh is about to fall. That's too vicious." "Now let go." Lu Luoshi felt so grateful that his chest was about to explode. Long Fei's face hardened and said, "I haven't enjoyed enough. You want me to let go? Wait a minute. Lu Luoshi was furious. I just want to die. Can you let me die a good death? I no longer have any concerns in this world. Can you let go of me? As she spoke, her tears began to flow. Because the speed of his fall was too fast, his tears directly hit the corner of Long Fei's mouth. It was salty. A woman's tears was Long Fei's fatal weakness. All of a sudden, Long Fei's heart softened, and she said, "All right, let go of me, don't cry." His hands relaxed slightly, and at this moment, Lu Luoshi suddenly turned and kicked Long Fei in the abdomen, using a lot of strength. Whoosh! Long Fei was immediately cut off by him. She looked at Long Fei and said, "Stay away from me." Long Fei's abdomen stung. As expected, a woman's tears cannot be trusted. Looking at Lu Luoshi falling into darkness, Long Fei's heart sank even more. This daddy here probably owes you something in my previous life, right? Just as Long Fei was about to speed up and catch up with Lu Luoshi. Buzz! His mind was buzzing. The pressure suddenly doubled. The speed of his descent hadn't changed, but his body felt as if it was being pressed down by some sort of pressure. He felt incomparably uncomfortable from head to toe, as if he was deep in the ocean. Lu Luoshi's expression also became painful. However, the corner of her mouth revealed a faint smile, and she muttered, "Long Fei, I'm here." Endless darkness. It was as if he had been swallowed up by the darkness. Huff! Hoo. Long Fei's breathing became a little hurried. Seeing Lu Luoshi's body, Long Fei clenched both his fists and let out a heavy cry. Rub. How can I let the woman I've taken a fancy to die? Ancient dragon body. Boom! Long Fei's ancient dragon body burst forth with a wung. A powerful energy appeared in his body. In that instant, his body was suspended in the air, and he could not feel any strong pressure, as if he was on a cliff. Long Fei muttered, "If I don't let you die, you won't die." Boom! His body sank, and like a divine dragon swinging its tail, he rushed towards Lu Luoshi like a meteor. It was also at this time. Two dark green lights suddenly flashed in the darkness. Light of the eye. It was like a prehistoric beast suddenly opening its cold eyes. This aura, is it a dragon? The blood vein of the dragon race? This aura, powerhouse of the divine space. Wow, the all-aspect nourishment elixir. I'll take it. Suddenly, the pair of dark green eyes suddenly opened wide in anger. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The boulder cracked, and a wave of power came crashing over. It was endless. Long Fei's body sank. Even though he was a practitioner of the ancient dragon body, his body still couldn't help but sink. F***CK. Long Fei secretly cursed, stared at the pair of dark green eyes far away in the distance, and gloomily said, "I don't have time to care about you right now. You better get the hell away from me. Otherwise I'll kill you." Haha. As expected of the divine space, to speak so arrogantly. But you probably don't know where this is. Azura's Gate, this is my territory. Now that you're here, you're in hell. No, it's even worse than going to hell, haha. Azura's Death Gate. Azura's Death Gate. Never heard of it. Long Fei's brows twitched as he thought to himself, explode. Boom! The power of the ancient dragon body increased. The binding on Long Fei disappeared, and he did not care about the monster in the darkness. He was only concerned about one person, Lu Luoshi. His body charged forward. So, he quickly rushed towards Lu Luoshi. After the aura on his body exploded out, the pair of dark green eyes within the darkness suddenly locked. Formidable, formidable, truly amazing. To think that 50% of my strength was easily broken by you. As expected of the divine space. It seems like I have to redefine your strength. He is the guardian of the Azura's Gate. Phantom. This place was called the Gate of Death, also known as the Azura Hell. Whoever enters here, no matter who you are, you won't be able to escape. So far, no one can escape from here yet. Thus, he was in no hurry. The power that erupted from Long Fei's body made him incomparably excited. He didn't know how many years he had been guarding this Azura's Gate of Death. He also wanted to become stronger. The only way for him to become stronger was to absorb the powerhouse's profound chi. And now what was missing was a powerhouse like Long Fei, who contained an extremely strong power. Haha, let me try out my strength at the 7th level, Phantom said sinisterly, and instantly, a wave of energy shot forth like lightning from the darkness. Walala, walala. He rushed to the front of Long Fei, and the shockwave immediately increased, over 300 meters high. And then, when the heavy slap came down, it was as if the sky had suddenly collapsed and pressed down on Long Fei. Everything around them creaked. Space itself began to crack. Long Fei was still fine, but her face was filled with pain and her eyebrows were tightly furrowed. She was only begging for death with all her heart and did not let out any screams. However, Long Fei could feel the pain on her body. In an instant, Long Fei looked up. There's no end, right? A sharp light burst out from his eyes. Boom! With a loud bang, the huge wave that was pressing down was instantly shattered, and all the surrounding pressure disappeared. The power of one gaze was able to destroy everything. Phantom's pupils shrank in fear, and his huge body started to tremble uncontrollably. The instant he saw Long Fei's gaze, he felt like he was about to die. It was very uncomfortable. His body is suffused with dragon chi. Dragon clan? High-grade dragon ancestor? Or holy dragon emperor? Or was it some other existence? But how could the dragon race have such a young powerhouse? For Phantom to be able to live until now and have the qualifications to guard the Azura's gate of death, other than being strong, he knew how to preserve his life. He only had one life. If he died, there would be nothing left. 70% of his strength had been crushed by just a single glance from Long Fei. How big was the difference in strength? I don't know. Phantom did not know how deep Long Fei was. He did not rashly increase his strength to attack again, and instead started to frantically think. His power definitely comes from the Dragon Clan. Millions of years have passed, and the dragon race's most powerful powerhouse has fallen. If tens of thousands of races were to rise, the tyrannical dragon race will definitely not be able to suppress them, and they will definitely face a downhill path. Even if he is the reincarnation of a certain dragon ancestor, that was probably his greatest strength. Even if it isn't, it should have 90% of its strength. And there's another fatal weakness around him. Phantom saw that Long Fei's weakness was not a particular part of his body, but Luluashi. The aura of this woman was that of a mortal. His talent was only at the divine level. With this level of talent and cultivation, he was an existence that could be easily crushed with a single finger in front of him. Immediately, Phantom closed his eyes. The dark abyss was pitch black again. He couldn't even see his own fingers in front of him. Long Fei was not affected by the darkness as he stared at Luluashi and said loudly, "You want to die?" "I don't agree yet." Just as he was about to grab Luluashi, buzz! A powerful explosion erupted. The corner of Long Fei's eyes turned sinister as he turned to look at the darkness. "Are you courting death?" Phantom laughed sinisterly. He. Just as Long Fei was about to attack, Luluashi's body suddenly sank, and an extremely strong pressure enveloped her like a bubble. Long Fei glared. "Let go of her!" Phantom revealed a pleased smile and said coldly, "I can let her go, but a lowly human like her is of no use to me." "I want you," Long Fei said. "Sure, you can come over immediately to get it." Phantom laughed. "Do you think I would be that stupid? Release all of your spirit blood for me first." Spirit blood, who had absorbed Long Fei, immediately knew his cultivation. The power contained within spirit blood explained everything. Long Fei said indifferently, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Phantom laughed. "Don't be so long-winded. Do whatever I say. Otherwise, I can immediately turn her into a pile of fine powder." Threatening me? Long Fei's expression darkened again. However, he did as he was told. A drop of spirit blood floated from his palm. The idea moved. Spirit blood flew in front of Phantom and said indifferently, "Can you release her now?" Phantom snatched spirit blood away and laughed complacently. Do you think that's possible? How could he bear to let go of such a good trump card? His brain was almost filled with water. Let me first have a taste of what your spirit blood really is. Phantom could not wait any longer. Long Fei glared at him coldly, but did not stop him. But the aura on his body became extremely rich. He looked calm. Phantom moved his body and directly absorbed Long Fei's spirit blood's body. The moment spirit blood absorbed his body, a rumbling sound filled the air. An explosive sound burst out from within his body. His strength exploded. Endless power surged out from spirit blood's body from all directions, and that power was simply too terrifying. Phantom was immediately scared silly. This is impossible. It can't be this kind of power. This spirit blood strength. Phantom was so excited that he could not even speak. His cultivation had been dormant for thousands of years. However, because of the drop of spirit blood just now, he seemed to have been stuck in a bottleneck due to the seal. His entire body began to boil in excitement. He simply did not know how this drop of spirit blood's power could be so strong, or whose spirit blood it was. Right now, he only wanted one thing. He wanted to suck spirit blood out dry. He raised his eyes and looked at Long Fei. However, Long Fei suddenly disappeared and appeared in front of him in an instant. He stared at him and smiled. Is my spirit blood tasty? Phantom's eyes opened wide and roared, Demon sealing soul. The most powerful force within the 10 layers of strength was unleashed. But also at this moment, Long Fei raised his right hand slightly and directly grabbed Phantom's throat. The power of the ancient dragon body exploded outwards. The power of the ancient dragon body exploded outwards. Speed burst. Phantom simply did not have time to react. In almost an instant, his throat tightened as it was seized. None of the energy in his body could be released at all. Long Fei's powerful aura surged out and directly crushed all the energy on his body. This feeling was akin to being stepped on and unable to move. A golden light flashed in Long Fei's eyes as he stared coldly at Phantom and said, I told you to scram. It was so powerful that it completely crushed the enemy. His voice made Phantom even more afraid. What kind of existence was Phantom? The guards of the death gate of the ancient Ashura. Overseer, he had lived for several trillion years. With his cultivation, just what sort of terrifying boundary had his strength reached? It could be said that it was unimaginable. But they were instantly crushed. Every inch of his flesh and blood seemed to be trembling. Looking at Long Fei's golden eyes, he seemed to have thought of something. His eyes narrowed. You? No. Impossible. I won't. You're already dead. You died trillions of years ago. Phantom looked at Long Fei's golden dragon eyes. Long Batian, who was buried in the ancient Ashura. How could he be here? In the entire dragon clan, only Long Batian possessed the golden dragon eye, so there could not be a second person. He was extremely familiar with Long Batian's dragon eyes. That gaze would never be forgotten, and 1 second of looking at it was as if it was going to be devoured. Although the power in Long Fei's eyes wasn't that strong, he could still feel the exact same feeling as Zheng Jin's. Fear. He couldn't help but tremble. Long Fei's mouth curved up slightly. He muttered, Seems like you recognize me, Phantom said while trembling. God of Boundary, I was wrong. Please forgive me. I will not dare to do it again. I beg you, can I? Can you spare me once? I'm willing to be your slave for the rest of my life. I'm willing to do anything for you. I beg you, can you spare my life? While they were talking, the aura on Phantom's body did not struggle at all. His entire being was also kneeling on the ground, and right now, it was as though he had turned into an incomparably tiny little ant. Indeed, in front of Long Batian, he was just an ant. He couldn't even be considered an ant. He was once the number 1 powerhouse, the unparalleled overlord, and also the realm king of the ancient world. The reason why the mother body of the ancient world could be extended to this day was all because of him. If not for him resisting the enemies, the ancient world would no longer be in this universe. In front of such a powerhouse, everyone would talk about existences that were like ants. At the same time, it was also because Phantom knew Long Batian that he knelt down. He was afraid, and his heart was filled with fear. He knew Long Batian's personality. Cruelty, cold-bloodedness, brutality, the butcher. He definitely wouldn't let anyone who slandered him off, or even said something about him. This kind of person's only fate was death. In the entire ancient world, no one had killed as many people as him in the past billions of years. 1,000,000 strong, the 10 million hegemons. Billions of powerful lords were called realms. Long Batian's god of boundary was something that he had killed step by step and piled up using a pile of bones. Phantom trembled as his entire body was covered in cold sweat. I beg of you, please don't kill me. I beg of you, as long as you spare my life, I will do anything for you. Please. He crazily cowed out. He did not dare to retaliate. He did not dare to look straight into Long Fei's eyes. He held that thread of hope in his heart. Only by kneeling down and kowtowing would he have a chance of survival. Long Fei was startled. He did not expect Phantom to be so afraid, and his heart tensed up. After pondering for a moment, he raised his right hand, and a burst of energy lifted Phantom up as he said, "Stand up and speak." Phantom's body trembled. I can't. Master God of Boundary, to be able to kneel in front of you is already a great honor. Many people did not even have the qualifications to kneel in front of Long Batian. Long Fei shouted and said, I told you to get up, and if you want to kneel, then go and die. Phantom trembled. He immediately stood up and said, Will Master God of Boundary spare my life? Long Fei said, Seeing that you are kneeling down, I will let you live first. Phantom kneeled down heavily on the ground again and said, Thank you, Master God of Boundary. Long Fei glared at him. Phantom immediately stood up again. His face was full of excitement. He had never thought that he could stand by the side of the God of Boundary. Too wonderful. It was like flying in the sky. Long Fei said, Since you can tell that I'm Long Batian, it means that we are fated to meet each other. From today onwards, you'll be by my side. When Phantom heard this, he became even more excited, nodded fiercely, and said, As you command. Long Fei said, You must not spread the news of my reincarnation and rebirth. No one, not even those from the Dragon Clan, must speak of it. Phantom said in a serious tone, I understand. I will definitely not say a single word, even if it's the master of Ashura. The master of the Ashura? Long Fei was not unfamiliar with the words ancient Ashura and had heard it several times. Phantom said, You have once defeated him, and he is now one of the 10 great divine emperors of ancient world. His strength can be ranked in the top 5. He is also a contender for the God of Boundary. He now controls the ancient Ashura's purgatory. Your former body was once buried in this purgatory. One of the 10 divine emperors. My body was also buried here. Then as the repression of boundary stones, also, Long Fei muttered to himself, then asked, What rank can the strength of Emperor Xian place in? What he wanted to know the most was how strong the Emperor Xian was. Phantom said, Emperor Xian can enter the top 3, which is even stronger than the Ashura's master. However, we still have to look at the location. If we are in this Ashura's purgatory, the Ashura Godlord would not be weaker than the Emperor Xian. But the main problem is that the Emperor Xian is a young talent, and the Ashura Godlord is one of the earliest batch of ancient world. Long Fei said, Didn't the Emperor Xian control the inheritance power of the ancient world? Phantom replied, Yes, but the power of the ancient inheritance is useless against ancient world's divine emperor realm powerhouse. Long Fei was startled. Even the power of the ancient inheritance is useless? The 10 great powerhouses are quite interesting. Emperor Xian can only be ranked in the top 3. Looks like ancient world has a lot more powerhouse than I expected. Long Fei muttered. He thought that the Emperor Xian was the king of the ancient world, the strongest existence. That didn't seem to be the case. Phantom said, The reason why the Emperor Xian is strong is because he has the outer space powerhouse as his backer. The reason he can rise in power is also because of the outer space powerhouse. My lord, the 10 great powerhouses of the ancient world that I mentioned just now are only people from our ancient world. If we include the outer space powerhouse, then they aren't considered the strongest powerhouse. Ancient world had long since been infiltrated by outer space powerhouse. Ancient world had long since been infiltrated by outer space powerhouse. The 10 great powerhouses were only considered ancient world's rank. If the outer space powerhouse who was hiding in ancient world was included, then it would not be counted as such. The two strong phantoms in the universal realm should be the outer space powerhouse, right? If the shadow is so strong, then how strong is the real face? Long Fei thought in his heart as he clenched his fists. His target was the Emperor Xian. He did not care who was behind Emperor Xian. He only wanted to kill Emperor Xian. Whoever stopped him would be killed. When Long Fei withdrew his aura, the ancient dragon body consumed a lot of his energy, especially under such high strength. His aura recovered. Phantom's body also loosened up a bit as he secretly gasped for breath. He knew that he had survived. Even with Long Fei's current cultivation level, which was only at swordsman rank, he dared not be disrespectful and cautious. No matter how strong Long Batian was, he could not afford to offend her reincarnation body. Long Fei was also testing him. Seeing that he was not acting recklessly, her lips curled up as she gently smiled and said, "You have passed the test. Now, your little life can be considered safe." Huff! As soon as he finished, Phantom's body was trembling. He had only heaved a sigh of relief earlier, and now his body was about to slump down and relax. Inwardly, he was glad that he didn't do anything rash earlier. Otherwise, Phantom immediately replied, "Rest assured, my lord, even if you give me 10,000 guts, I still wouldn't dare to betray you. I've said it before, I am willing to be your slave for my entire life." Long Fei replied, "It's good that you understand, right? You said that you are the guardian of the Ashura's Gate of Death. Then you mean that this is the entrance to an ancient Ashura?" Long Fei asked. Long Batian's body was buried in the ancient Ashura. This was not the main point. The most important thing was that Long Batian still had the largest repression of boundary stones suppressed on his body. Since this repression of boundary stones could suppress the number 1 powerhouse of the ancient times, then its power must not be simple. Phantom replied, "Yes, master, there are 4 entrances into the ancient Ashura, the Gate of Life, Gate of Death, Gate of Heaven, Gate of Ghost, and all 4 great entrances are guarded. I am the guard of the Death Gate, and I will guard this place for all eternity, not allowing anyone to enter." Long Fei said, "Can I go in?" Phantom replied, "Of course," without the slightest hesitation. Stopping for a second was a disrespect to Long Fei. Long Fei nodded, muttering to himself, "Ancient Ashura, wait until I become stronger. The stronger my cultivation, the stronger the power of my ancient dragon body." At this time, Long Fei suddenly thought of something and slapped his thigh. Holy sh*t. I almost forgot about her. At this time, the sound of Lu Luoshi jumping off the cliff rang out. Long Fei immediately said, "That woman just now." Phantom said, "Please rest assured, my lord. She is currently in my energy domain. Nothing has happened to her." "Well done." Long Fei was satisfied. "All right, you can stay here for now. I will cultivate in a sect on the cliff top. If there is anything I can help you with, I will call you." Phantom moved, and a small black stone floated up and said, "Master, this stone contains the shadow of my fate soul. If you need me to crush it, I will immediately appear in front of you." "But, my lord," Long Fei took the small stone and said, "If there's anything you want to say, just say it." Phantom said, "If you finish your experiential learning and leave the mortal world and enter the divine world, can you bring me along? I have guarded this place for millions of years, and I nearly forgot what kind of existence the divine world is." He wanted to leave this place, but he was afraid of the Ashura Godmaster. But if Long Fei brought him along, it would be different. The Ashura Divine Master had been defeated by Long Batian, so there was no need to fear him anymore. Right now, he was determined to follow Long Fei. Long Fei nodded his head. It's up to you. I never need useless people by my side. Phantom's eyes lit up. He thought that Long Fei would not agree, because he was Long Baishan's reincarnation, the kind of person who was invincible and powerful. If he could stay by his side, the benefits he would gain would be endless. Hearing Long Fei's words, Phantom was so excited that he kneeled down and said, "Thank you, Master, for giving me the chance. I will definitely not let you down." Long Fei was secretly delighted. He had accidentally taken in such a fierce person. What realm was the ancient strong of billions of years ago? I think even the average divine powerhouse is no match for him. Long Fei said, "All right, I can't use my power from my previous life as I please. First, send me to that woman's side, then listen to my commands. Rup, I don't believe that I can't take you down." Long Fei secretly thought. Phantom didn't think much of it and replied, "Understood." Long Fei moved his body, and a powerful force wrapped around him, causing his body to fly out explosively. In less than a few seconds, Long Fei saw that Lu Luoxi, who was wrapped up by a ball of energy, was still in the process of falling. When Lu Luoxi saw Long Fei flying toward her, her eyes shivered. "Why are you here again? Can you let me die a good death?" Long Fei once again threw himself into Lu Luoxi's embrace and immediately hugged her, saying, "I won't let you die." While they were talking, Long Fei moved and said to Phantom, "Accelerate the descent." Boom! Without waiting for Lu Luoxi to resist, the two of them quickly fell down. Long Fei used his own body to shield himself as he looked at Lu Luoxi and said, "Even if I have to die, I'll die first." Finished. Long Fei closed his eyes. Lu Luoxi's eyes were ice cold. He was not moved by what Long Fei had done, but said coldly, "Do you think that doing this will make me like you? Whether you die or not has nothing to do with me. Even if I don't die this time, I will die again." Long Fei said, "If he can fight for you, I can too." Lu Luoxi was startled. "You? I don't even know your name. And who you are, there's only one man in my heart. I don't need you to risk your life for me. Your 10,000 deaths have nothing to do with me." Walala, walala. The cold wind howled, cutting at his body like a knife. Long Fei thought, "Almost there." In that instant, boom! Long Fei smashed onto the ground heavily. Even so, Long Fei still protected Lu Luoxi with all his might. Puff! A mouthful of blood sprayed out. Lu Luoxi's expression tensed up. She had also received a huge shock, but she was not dead. Logically speaking, at such a high distance, even if she had a meat cushion, she would still fall to her death. However, she didn't fall. It was just a slight concussion. However, Lu Luoxi didn't think too much about it. Seeing Long Fei spurt out a mouthful of blood, her expression was only stunned for a moment, not sympathetic. She stood up and saw the sharp rocks not too far away. She didn't want to live. Lu Luoxi was begging for death with all his heart. Lu Luoxi was begging for death with all his heart. She had never thought of living. Long Fei had done so much, but he had not shaken her resolve to die. Now that her beloved was gone, she felt that the whole world was ashen white, just like a dead person. What was the point of living like this? So, without the slightest hesitation, she crashed headfirst into it. At this moment, Long Fei was enraged. What the F *******? He suddenly stood up and said, "Do you really want to die that badly?" She thought that Long Fei was already dead, and after hearing Long Fei's voice, she turned and looked over and said, "Right, I just want to die." Long Fei was disappointed. "He's that good. He can make you do this. You said he was willing to risk his life for you, but I'm also willing to risk my life for you. I'm willing to risk my life for you. It is the same in the South Heaven Gate, and it is the same for me. Living is not for others, but for yourself. Is your life that lowly? If someone they like dies, do they have to die with him? And have you figured it out? Just because of a single word in a mirror, you concluded that he was dead? Can you think of something?" Long Fei said fiercely. He even wanted to slap Lu Luoxi twice. What kind of stupid woman was this? Big chest and no brain. But it was not this brainless method. This was not brainless. This was completely brainless. Lu Luoshi laughed faintly and said coldly, "You don't understand." Long Fei was immediately choked to the point of not being able to speak. I don't understand. Lu Luoshi said. "He cannot be a substitute for anyone. You are very good, but if you are not him, you cannot be a substitute either. He is the most important person in my life. If he isn't here, then I won't live either. I live for him." Finished. Lu Luoshi did not turn back, but this time, it was even simpler when she took out her sword and lightly swung it against her neck. Looking at the dark sky, she muttered, "I'm here." It was also at this time. Long Fei was forced by her to the point where he had no other choice, and said, "I don't need to replace him. I am him. Do you not believe it? The person you are waiting for is called Long Fei. He comes from the gods' martial continent, and he has a servant girl called Jojo. She's a phoenix blood vein." As he said till here, Lu Luoshi went on for a while. He stopped. She looked at Long Fei curiously. Long Fei continued, "He has a Xiaobai wolf war pet, and his name is Xiaobai. He has another flying dragon. He has the 8 King Kong by his side. Li Yuanba is the head of the Vajra body. He knows a lot of women, Fu Shishan, Xinyuan Lier, Queen of Blood Moon." At this moment, Lu Luoshi was even more shocked. He looked at Long Fei without moving and said, You. Long Fei continued. From the moment he entered the gods' martial continent, he had been fighting against the Emperor Xian and had almost rushed to the 9th heaven, but he was suppressed by the Emperor Xian. He is of the dragon race. His father is called Long Zhanting. He was the one who brought you to the ancient world, or perhaps it was the universal realm who brought you here. Lu Luoshi's tears rolled down her face as she used her sword to cover her mouth. Long Fei said, "Emperor Xian is too strong. His strength is too weak. He has been working hard and has continuously become stronger, but I'm always losing. Once, twice, thrice. I was beaten back to my original form by the Emperor Xian again and again. When you entered the ancient world, it was also the time when he was the most heavily injured. His entire memories were drawn out by the seal, and he could no longer remember everything that happened in the past. He's just like a person who lost his memories. Even if the person he loves the most and the closest to him stood in front of him, he would not be able to recognize him. Because of this, he worked extremely hard. He wanted to kill the Emperor Xian, break his own memory of the seal, and search for all of you. In the universal realm, he finally won against the Emperor Xian once. But it's just a shadow of the Emperor Xian, and the seal in his memories did not break. When he killed the ancient world, the laws of the ancient world were too strong. It was difficult for him to even walk, but he was not afraid. So what if he started from the beginning? From learning how to walk to breaking through, to being selected to enter the ancient antiquity. He just wants to become stronger as soon as possible. He wants to break the memory seal as soon as possible. He wants to find all of you as soon as possible. He doesn't want to make your waiting to end in vain. He doesn't want to disappoint you. Saying this, Long Fei clenched his fists tightly. Lu Luoshi was already in tears. Oh, woo-woo. He was incomparably sad. Long Fei walked to her side and said blandly, "When he first met you in ancient antiquity, memory fragments appeared in his mind, but he could not recall it. However, he could not remember who it was because he was too familiar with the name Lu Luoshi. He's in pain, he's in pain. Before he knew that you were going to enter a dangerous place, even if you wanted to slander him, he had to go with you. There was always a voice in his head telling him to protect you, that he had to protect you. When he found out that you were courting death, he couldn't sleep at all. He was distracted and immediately found you in the vast ancient antiquity. His name is Long Fei. He is me." Long Fei looked at Lu Luoshi. In his heart, he wasn't sure if what he had said could change Lu Luoshi's way of thinking. He only knew that he had to try his best. If even this wouldn't move her and wouldn't stop her from seeking death, then Long Fei would use another method. However, the moment he saw Lu Luoshi's tears, he knew that she was once his woman. Suddenly, Lu Luoxi immediately threw himself into Long Fei's embrace and started to wail. The cry was heart-tearing and lung-splitting, causing one's heart to ache. Wah, woo, ah, why? Why did you only come to me now? Why? Do you know how much I miss you? Do you know how I've lived these 100 years? Woo, woo, woo. The more they talked, the more they cried. He couldn't control it all. Her tears were like a waterfall, and for the past 100-odd years, she did not shed a single tear. This time, she had shed all of her tears, and in the end, she laid on Long Fei's shoulder and heavily bit down. She was the only one who knew. She no longer hesitated. She firmly believed that the Long Fei in front of her was the Long Fei she was waiting for. It was just a change of appearance, but Long Fei was still the same Long Fei. She had finally arrived. It was extremely painful, but it was as if Long Fei didn't feel it at all. He hugged Lu Luoxi and gently patted her back as he said, "Sorry, I came late." With a light sentence, Lu Luoxi shook her head as tears flowed down her face. She held back her tears and said, "No, no, no," hugging Long Fei tightly. They were afraid that Long Fei would suddenly disappear. It was also at this time. Suddenly, the system beeped ding. Long Fei's heart tensed up. Is the mission for the 7-meet diagram still there? The sudden voice of the system beep made Long Fei secretly tremble. The sudden voice of the system beep made Long Fei secretly tremble. The system changed and the quest disappeared. Logically speaking, the mission for the 7-meet diagram should no longer be here. What did system beep mean by this? Long Fei started to listen carefully. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining a special reward. Do you want to receive it? Special reward? Long Fei was not prepared at all. Receive, no matter what it is, you must receive it. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the special dragon's power. Boom! After the system beep landed, Long Fei's body suddenly released a buzzing sound. At the same time, a loud voice rang out. Master! Long Fei was shocked. You? Yes. The voice resounded. I am just a power. The power that was once on your body, after being sealed for so many years, has finally come out today. Thank you, Master. Ha ha! As he spoke, he couldn't help but laugh excitedly. Long Fei said, Then you, Black and White, Old Devil, and the others. Long Guangdao. Yes, I know them. They're the same as me. We were trapped by the seal, waiting for Master's return. Master released us before you were suppressed by the repression of boundary stones, waiting for your reincarnation, and finally came back. Long Fei was stunned. Long Quang said it very clearly. He was the same as the Black and White. Black and White. The old demon had obtained this power only because Long Fei had completed the mission of the 7 Meridians painting. He had just found Lu Luoxi and inexplicably received his reward. Although he didn't say why he got the rewards, it was definitely a 7 Meridians quest. Is the mission still there? Long Fei muttered in his heart, thinking of the leopard girl. He remembered that the leopard girl also had an exclamation mark floating above her head, but that time, she did not complete her quest. Long Guangdao Master, this place. It seems to be the border of the ancient Ashura. Do you want to find your physical body? Long Fei regained his composure, said indifferently, Your master is Long Batian, but my name is Long Fei. There were some things that needed to be clarified, be it ancient dragon body, old devil, black and white, or the others. He is him. His name is Long Fei, and not Long Batian. Long Quang thought for a while and said, Is there any difference? Master, you have said before, the name is just a code name. It could be called Ah Cat, or it could be called Ah Dog. Long Quang accepted his fate. Whoever broke his seal, that person was the person he was waiting for. Long Fei said, I am not Long Batian. You must be clear about this point. I will not become Long Batian. Long Guangdao, I understand. You are you, not Long Batian. You are my master. No matter what your name is, you are my master. Long Quang had a serious expression. Long Fei did not speak further. Long Quang asked again, Master, do you want to enter the Azura Purgatory? That year, you let yourself be buried inside, and your body was suppressed by the repression of boundary stones. You did not complete the quest back then. You can complete it after reincarnation, right? Like Black and White, he had mentioned the mission, the quest that Long Batian had failed before. The mission failed, and the repression of boundary stones suppressed it. What kind of mission was this? Long Fei still couldn't understand. Black and White had once said that the more he knew, the harder the road ahead would be. But until now, Long Fei did not know much, nor did he have it easy to pass through. Long Fei asked, "What was the mission you mentioned earlier?" Long Quang was surprised for a moment. "You don't know?" Long Fei replied, "I don't know. I only know that Long Batian has failed, and that I still have one chance." Long Quang Dao, "Yes, there's only one chance. The people of the ancient world said that you were punished by the heavens because you killed too many people, and the outer world repression of boundary stones smashed you to death. The truth is that this is not the case. The repression of boundary stones only appeared because you did not complete your mission and receive the punishment. So before the repression of boundary stones manage to suppress you, you have to do everything you can. Get ready. The first failure has been suppressed by the repression of boundary stones for 1 billion years. If the second attempt fails, that is the soul flying." Long Fei asked, "What kind of mission is it?" Long Quang Dao, "Save ancient world." Huh? Long Fei was startled. Save the ancient world? Isn't the ancient world just fine? There's nothing to save, and how can I save a plane like this? Long Quang Dao, "I don't know about that. At any rate, Master was saving ancient world back then, and it was just that I did not succeed. If we do not succeed this time, the ancient world will probably be destroyed." His words were a bit scary. Long Fei was also dumbstruck when he heard it. He just could not understand why she wanted him to save the ancient world. Moreover, the most important thing was that the system didn't trigger the quest. Long Fei said, "I don't know what mission is to save the ancient world." Long Quang Dao, "Master, when you become a god of boundary, the Sky Law mission will appear, and you will know it then. At that time, you also killed your way up to the peak of the ninth heaven to become a god of boundary of the ancient world, and it was only then that you showed up. You once said that the Sky Law quest will be a test for you." Sky Law? Test? God of boundary? Damn, what a mess. Long Fei's brain did not work. The Black and White had told him about the mission before. Ever since the universal realm had collapsed and he had entered the Hall of Eternal Life, the old devil and the Black and White family had all disappeared from his body, and he did not hear anything about the mission for a long time. Who would have thought that the power of the dragon would once again come to the task? Long Fei opened the system. There was not a single mission in the system. There was only one system girl sleeping soundly. Long Quang Dao, "Isn't it time yet? It should be soon." Long Fei was too lazy to think further. His goal was not to save the ancient world. He only had one goal in entering the ancient world: kill the Emperor Xian. Long Quang did not say anymore. What he needed to do now was to help Long Fei reach the peak of the God of Boundary. Only by becoming a God of Boundary would one be able to trigger that ultimate mission. Master had once instructed his reincarnator to help him reach the top at all costs. Long Quang felt Long Fei's cultivation and thought, super divine physique, blood vein are also super gods, but their cultivation is slightly lower. There's still time. There's still time. Long Quang Dao, "Master, what you need to do now is to break through. In the next period of time, I will help you quickly break through." Counting the time, the competition for the God of Boundary is almost here. Before the battle for the God of Boundary, you must reach Holy Dragon Emperor's level. That way, you will have the strength to fight. Long Fei laughed bitterly and said, "The battle for the God of Boundary? I'm still in a mortal realm and can't even enter the divine space. What kind of realm is Holy Dragon Emperor in?" Long Quang laughed out loud. "Rest assured, Master. With me here, I can make you fly into the sky. Back then, I was your training master." Master trainer? Master trainer? This was the first time Long Fei heard it. Long Quang Dao, "All 7 of us have our own unique power. My power is cultivation, and not only am I your training master, I was also the dragon race's master. Don't worry, I'm here. I can let you use a short period of time to achieve the greatest cultivation effect. With my help, your cultivation will definitely increase by leaps and bounds. Dragon Kwong was very confident. His awakening was for the battle of God of Boundary with Long Fei. Since he had awakened, then even if he had to lift Long Fei up, he was going to carry him into the God of Boundary to fight for hegemony. Long Fei laughed. Advancing to level up wasn't too hard for him. As long as he had a reason, he could easily kill a person and level up to LVL 10. However, that way, he would lose a lot of things in the refined space. This was not the result he wanted. Lu Luoxi, who had been hugging on tightly all along, felt that Long Fei was a little strange and couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong?" Long Fei was startled for a moment, then shook his head. "Nothing. I was just thinking about the past." Long Kwong also said, "Master, you go ahead and busy yourself. I'm busy too." Finished. His aura disappeared and was completely hidden. Long Fei recovered his expression to look at Lu Luoxi and said, "In the future, don't do anything stupid and don't believe in mirrors either." Lu Luoxi gently nodded and said, "Amen," in the darkness. Lu Luoxi leaned into Long Fei's embrace. Their eyes met, and Long Fei let out a soft cry. "You're really beautiful." Lu Luoxi's cheeks flushed red, her face bashful, but her body slightly moved and suddenly kissed Long Fei's lips. And then, the heavenly thunder lured the earth and fire. It was ready to explode at any moment. The storm, the firewood, that scene can only be described by one word. It was unbearable to look at. After a long time, she had been waiting her entire life for this moment. With a face full of happiness, she leaned into Long Fei's embrace and muttered, "It's still better if Tian Tian and the others are here as well." Long Fei said lightly, "I will find them." Lu Luoxi said dejectedly and softly, They might not be here anymore." Long Fei's brows tightened and said, "What do you mean?" Lu Luoxi said, "Your father used some sort of great power to bring us into the ancient world, universal realm, but in these 100 years life and death. Most of us come from the lower planes. We're simply unable to adapt to the laws of the higher planes. There's not much chance of him surviving." Long Fei frowned, thinking back to how he couldn't even walk after entering the ancient world, and how in this world, there was no sense of existence for them at all. Weak strength, poor talent. There was no way he could compete with the people of these planes. Not everyone was like Lu Luoxi. She had clenched her teeth and endured for the past 100 years. Her talent was not bad amongst all the girls. She held on, but what about Tian Tian? Where's Qian Qian? And what about the JoJo that Long Fei had always been worried about? A lot. Long Fei's memories were limited, but he also remembered a lot. He clenched his fists tightly. All of this was bestowed to him by the Emperor Xian. It was also at this time. Long Kwong suddenly spoke out. "Master, these are not the problems. As long as you become the God of Boundary, you can change all the laws. The ancient world's law of death will also be under your control. At that time, although reviving the dead would be against the heavens' punishment, you can do it. You have also done it before." "Huh?" Long Fei was startled and said, "You exist at any time?" Long Kwong Dao, "I'm in your body." Long Fei said, "Then just now." Long Kwong Dao said, "I was there just now." "Damn you," Long Fei said harshly. Just now, when he and Lu Luoxi were in a complete mess. Long Fei was depressed, but this was something that could not be avoided. He let out a heavy breath and said, "You just said that you could revive the person you wanted to revive by grasping the law of death?" Long Kwong Dao, "That's right. The law of death controls death. You can resurrect any dead person in the billions of planes under the ancient world. Of course, there are some rather special existences as well. However, the people who died in your conversation just now can be revived. As long as you become the God of Boundary and control all the laws and order in ancient world, you can revive the person that you want to revive." This was the powerhouse. Powerhouse can do whatever he wants. It was the same for reviving a dead person. Long Fei's brows tightened and said with a heavy tone, "God of Boundary, right? All right, I will definitely become a god of boundary. Long Quang was secretly delighted. He needed Long Fei to participate in the competition for god of boundary. All right, Phantom, send us up. He had done what he had to do. The woman had been found, so staying in this dark place was boring. Long Fei was also afraid that the phoenix would be worried. Phantom appeared, his eyes shining with a green light. It was also at this time. Long Quang's eyes trembled slightly as he stared at Phantom coldly. In an instant, Phantom didn't dare to move and carefully stood up. He could sense that there was an extra powerful force in Long Fei's body. This power could take his life. In just a few hours, he had become strong again. This is Long Beishan's reincarnation body? Too terrifying, Long Fei said faintly. Compared to this Phantom, who's stronger? Long Quang Dao. He's just one of the 4 great guards of the Azura Divine Master. He doesn't even have the qualifications to fight me. You're so strong. Long Fei was secretly surprised. He didn't think that the Dragon Quang would be so strong. Long Quang Dao. It's not that I'm strong. It's because he's too weak. Back then, I was also a powerhouse of the Divine Emperor realm. If we were to really compare now, I'm afraid that I would not be his match. My current strength is completely focused on training. Long Fei laughed. Dragon Quang was like an instructor. He might not be strong, but his theory was the strongest, and his theory was not just for show. It was truly something that could help Long Fei. Phantom trembled as he sent Long Fei and Lu Luoxi back to the cliff. Long Fei said, "You wait downstairs for now. If there is anything else, I will call you." Phantom replied, "Understood, Master." He did not leave immediately. Long Fei knew what he was worried about and said, "Don't worry. I will fulfill the promise I made to you. I will bring you along once I enter the divine space." Phantom immediately replied, "Thank you, Master." Then he excitedly disappeared into the darkness. Long Quang Dao. He's too weak. He simply doesn't have the qualifications to follow by your side. But his cultivation hasn't broken through in a long time. If I give him some pointers, he should be able to take a few more steps forwards, perhaps even reaching the Divine Emperor realm. Long Fei was startled. Damn, are you really that abnormal? Long Quang Dao, of course. It wouldn't be long before he would be able to determine whether or not it was truly abnormal. It wouldn't be long before he would be able to determine whether or not it was truly abnormal. Long Fei was not in a hurry. If Long Quang was really a training master, then his uses were too great. Not only could it train him, it could also help him train Bailey Tianhai, Zhao Dehan, and even Phoenix. The sky turned white in the east. Not long after, the red sun slowly rose. A new day had begun. Lu Luoxi was like a little woman holding on a Long Fei's arm, leaning on Long Fei's shoulder, her face full of happiness. Long Fei also enjoyed this feeling a lot. He lightly kissed Lu Luoxi on the forehead and said, "All right, you can return to the inner sect first. I will pass the inner sect examination as soon as possible. Then we will be able to be together every day." Lu Luoxi did not stay behind as she said, "Amen." Whatever Long Fei said, she would do. Women sometimes want obedience. She could not be bored by Long Fei's side all day. Long Fei was someone who did great things. She could not waste too much of Long Fei's time. Long Fei moved her body and said to Long Quang, "Can you plant a strand of sensing power on her body?" Long Quang Dao, "No problem." With a flash of light, it landed on Lu Luoxi's body. Now that he was sure that Lu Luoxi was his woman, he had to protect her well. Lu Luoxi did not feel and did not know that Long Fei had planted a strand of sensing power on her body. The two of them separated. Lu Luoxi subconsciously rubbed his stomach, muttering in his heart, "If only I could give him a baby." Perhaps. Lu Luoxi's cheeks flushed red. A woman knows her period very well. She knows what a safe period is and when it is dangerous. These few days are the critical period. Long Fei returned to his residence. Phoenix sat at the mouth of the courtyard. When she saw Long Fei, she ran over from afar and immediately threw herself into his embrace, saying, "My honey, where did you go last night? I'm so worried about you." Long Fei stroked Phoenix's head and said, Silly girl, I will be fine. At this moment, Long Quang suddenly said, this girl's physique, it is actually also a super divine body and one that has reached the 8th stage of the divine phoenix body. It is not simple at all. Master, this little girl from the Phoenix clan possesses incomparable great potential. She is even faster at stepping into the divine emperor realm than that phantom. Dragon Quang was extremely shocked. This was also something that Long Fei did not expect. He knew that Phoenix was not simple, but he did not expect her to be so awesome. Long Quang Dao also, her 8 revolutions divine Phoenix body does not require much cultivation to be able to easily break through. As long as time is up, it will be possible to break through. The 8 revolutions Phoenix. This is the first time I've seen it. The women of the Phoenix race rarely go through 8 cycles because every nirvanic rebirth is a test of death for them. There's a large chance that they will die during nirvanic rebirth, since the Phoenix is fire. Since she's at the 8th circulation. Too awesome. I really don't know what kind of faith made her so firm. An 8th circulation divine Phoenix. The ancient world is probably the 3rd in history. The first is the 8 cycles of the Phoenix Mother, and the second is the 8 cycles of the Phoenix God. She is the 3rd, and the fire of life is still burning strongly. Long Quang started to praise him. Long Fei could not help but ask, what if it's the 9 revolutions? Long Quang Dao. 9 revolutions? There is still no Phoenix with 9 cycles in the ancient world. Even the Phoenix Mother and the Phoenix God were unable to survive the 9 cycles of Nirvana. So the 9 cycles is merely a legendary existence to the Phoenix race. The 9 revolutions is too strong. Even your peak realm back then might not be a match for him. Long Quang said. Long Fei was astonished. Back then, Long Batian had been tyrannical and unstoppable. The realm of the god of boundary, with its myriad of laws controlling the ancient world, it was actually still inferior to the power of the 9 revolutions Phoenix. It was unimaginable. Big brother, Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan also heard the sound and walked out. Only after seeing that Long Fei was safe and sound did they heave a sigh of relief. Since Long Fei could clearly see a person's potential, Long Fei asked again, what about them? How talented are you? Dragon Quang glanced at the two of them. 1 second later, Long Quang indifferently said, to the people of the mortal world, the talents of these 2 people are considered high. If they are not modified, their best cultivation would reach the Emperor Swordsman rank, but it would take them at least 2,000 years. Emperor Swordsman rank. The pinnacle realm of the mortal world. It was already a formidable existence to have such a cultivation level. Long Fei said, you mentioned about remodeling? What do you mean? Can talent still be changed? Long Quang Dao. Of course, talent is innate. Exerting the strongest degree of talent is already the limit. But for me, talent can be changed. That skinnier person's intelligence is his intelligence. If I can develop his intelligence to an 8 brain state, then if his body can withstand the pressure and he has a firm will, then he can also use 16 brains. This way, the Sword Emperor won't be at his peak. As for the other big size guy, he's much simpler. As long as he can fuse with a few more ancient Desolation Divine Beast's Holy Spirit blood, he would be able to break through again. The soul and holy blood of the ancient Desolation Divine Beast. This was something that the powerhouse of the mortal world did not even dare think about. It was no wonder that East Ghost King's eyes would shine when he saw the Phoenix in South Heaven Gate. Long Fei asked, can my talent be changed? Long Quang hesitated for a moment and said, you are considered a rather special existence, and my power has yet to reach the level of talent needed to change you. Back then, you said that your talent could only be changed by Sky Law, and up until now, I still don't know what that is. Sky Law, Long Fei thought. Long Quang Dao, ancient world, is only a small plane in the entire wild universe's sea of stars. Here, your innate talent is the super divine body, but from another plane. He did not continue. In the lower planes, even divine-level talents were considered trash in the higher planes. Long Fei was very clear about this point. Long Fei didn't think about the transformation of her inherent skill for the time being and said, "Let's put aside the transformation of her inherent skill for now. Since you are a training master, then let's begin to formulate a training plan for them." Long Guangdao, "Master, I am serving you." Long Fei said, "Let me see your abilities first. I will then decide whether or not you become my training master." Long Guangdao, "I will let you know my ability. In less than 3 days, they will experience an earth-shattering transformation." Senior sister is back. Senior sister is back. Sword Elf Mountain. A disciple hurriedly reported. King of Sword Elves was stunned for a moment. He looked at Ling Yuan and said, "Didn't you just say that Luo, she had jumped down the ancient cliff? What about her?" Ling Yuan was also startled. He did not know what had happened, but he was more happy. The King of Sword Elves didn't think too much and said, "Ling Yuan, bring Junior Sister over to the main hall and report to the Great Clan Elder about the South Heaven Gates mission. In addition, Powerhouse of the Divine Space will be arriving soon, so you must seize this opportunity. As long as you receive the Great Clan Elder's recommendation, you will have the chance to take the examination. This is very important to you, understand?" In the morning, an outer sect senior brother walked into the courtyard. In the morning, an outer sect senior brother walked into the courtyard. "The elders have given the order. After 3 days, there will be a match test to see the strength of your new disciples. This will also determine your cultivation path in the future. If your score is good, you will get a special reward. Do you understand? Wake them up early in the morning." Bailey Tianhai said. "Match assessment? What do you mean?" The senior brother said, "This means that we should see if you are useful. If not, then don't waste the sect's resources. There are still 3 days. You two should prepare well and bring out the best possible strength. Do you understand?" With that, he walked out of the courtyard. The outer sect disciples were also divided into different grades. Just like the outside world, low-level disciples would do the lowest of things: clean, wash, cook, and wash the toilets. Naturally, the higher-level disciples were highly valued. After all, the outer sect also needed to train their disciples. If he could cultivate 1 or 2 disciples to enter the inner sect, then the elder's face would also shine. This year's new disciples had just entered. Outer door presbyter needed to carefully inspect them. Long Fei's eyes moved and thought. Coincidentally, Bailey Tianhai was also excited and said, "It's time to show off." Haha. Long Fei raised both his eyes and said, "For these 3 days, all of you, go cultivate according to the method I described. Big brother, I am the 4-brain genius. In terms of cultivation, I can say that there might not be a chance that I have researched everything in the entire ancient antiquity. You're current. You want me to listen to you? Of course, I'm not belittling you. I just think that Bailey Tianhai did not understand. Last night, Long Quang had studied it all night and come up with a detailed training plan. This was Long Fei's test. He did not dare to be careless. He wanted to prove it to Long Fei. Phoenix said with a serious face, "My honey, I'm ready." Of the 3, only Bailey Tianhai did not understand. Zhao Dehan stood there foolishly, as if he had not woken up yet. There just so happened to be a sparring assessment that could be used to test the results of Long Quang's training. Long Fei looked at Bailey Tianhai and said, "Try the method I give you first, and if it doesn't work, cultivate in your own method." Bailey Tianhai muttered, "All right." He was very conceited. He was especially conceited in terms of intelligence. If not for Long Fei, he would definitely not have listened. And then, Long Quang said indifferently, "Let's start with Zhao Dehan." Long Fei replied, "OL3, I'll start with you." After Long Quang said this, Long Fei followed. "Your talent should be some kind of hard stone. Your body is what you cultivate the most." Zhao Dehan nodded and said, "Me knows." Bailey Tianhai said, "I have already told him this. Other than his physical body, he also has his own strength. He is inborn divine power." Long Fei replied, "You don't need to cultivate your strength. You just need to cultivate your body." Bailey Tianhai questioned, "No matter how strong the body is, what use is it if you don't have strength?" "Big brother, Just let me handle this aspect of your training. I am more clear on the situation of the big and foolish. Long Fei said, try for 3 days. If I can't, I will never say it again. Seeing that Long Fei was so determined, Bailey Tianhai could only give up. Long Fei said, since the defense of the body is strong to the point of being invincible, then there is no need for power. Just the strength of the body is enough to allow you to be invincible. Your body's cultivation method is different from before. Reverse your cultivation method. Bailey Tianhai was stunned again. He wanted to say something, but endured it in the end. Retrograde cultivation? Wasn't this just making fun of his own life? Even if Zhao Dehan's body was strong, he wouldn't be able to withstand a reverse cultivation. Moreover, a slight mistake would cause his qi to go berserk. This was too dangerous. Zhao Dehan did not question, and said, Amen. Long Fei was also surprised in his heart. Retrograde cultivation is a big risk, right? They're my sworn brothers. If anything happens to them, I won't forgive you. Long Guangdao, don't worry. His physique is different from others. Retrograde cultivation is the most suitable for him, so you can rest easy. Combined with my gold needle acupuncture point, his talent will soon burst forth. If I can't even train the martial artists of the mortal realm, what qualifications do I have to become a training master of the Dragon Clan? How can I train you? Long Quang was very confident. It's that four-brain kid again. Long Fei looked at Bailey Tianhai and said, your cultivation will have to change as well. Your innate talent is your intelligence. Although you have 4 heads, your brain power development is only a little higher than ordinary people. Your method of cultivation is also simple. Brain, stimulate your brain cells. Bailey Tianhai was a little stupefied and said, Big brother, can my brain take it? Long Fei also did not know if it was okay or not, and said, do as I say first. If there's no effect within 3 days, then switch back to your previous cultivation method. At this moment, Phoenix jumped up and said, there's still me, and there's still me. Long Fei looked at the Phoenix and said, you? Long Quang mumbled, she is the 8 Revolutions Phoenix. She doesn't need to cultivate. As long as time is up, she can break through. I can't teach her. Break through when the time is up? This was too awesome. Long Fei looked at Phoenix's happy expression and said, your cultivation is very simple. In these 3 days, supervise their cultivation. Phoenix giggled and said, understood, my honey. Bailey Tianhai looked at Long Fei and asked, big brother, what about you? Long Fei said, you guys stay at home and cultivate. I'll go out and take a look at the missions and see if I have the chance to hunt some demon beastess. Tonight, the ingredients for the roasted meat are still not ready yet. Last night, when our roasted meat sold so much, I believe that no one will sell it to us. Cultivation was inseparable from resources. In the outer sect of the ancient antiquity, all their monthly orders had been withheld. If he wanted to obtain resources, he could only do it himself. To break through faster, he would need even more holy source stones. Although setting up a barbecue stall was not a good idea, it was the only way that Long Fei could think of at the moment. At least he could earn a lot of holy source stones every day. And that was the task credit. If you want to participate in the intersect examination, you must prepare all the task credit S. If someone had 300 points, they would need 900 points. Time was short. All right, just follow what I told you to cultivate. The sparring assessment is in 3 days. If you do not meet the criteria, you will be punished for 1 month. You are not allowed to eat my barbecue. Long Fei smiled faintly. Phoenix's eyes narrowed, and she immediately said in a serious tone, my honey, please be at ease. I promise that I will complete the mission. Not eat barbecue? How can that be? Phoenix stared at Bailey Tianhai and said, do you understand? If you don't cultivate properly, we won't have any meat to eat. When Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan thought about the barbecue meat that they had eaten last night, their scalps went numb. Isn't this punishment a bit too severe? In the intersect, Senior Brother Lin's matters have been settled. In 3 days, there will be a match assessment. I have already planted a few newcomers outside, so I can guarantee that no one will find out. When the time comes, you could be at ease. I dare to use my head to guarantee that they will not live. A somewhat vulgar-looking disciple cautiously said. Lin Yuan held his hands behind his back, smiled lightly, and said, "Well done." With a flip of his right hand, a money pouch appeared in his hand. He tossed it backwards and said, "This is your reward." The man took the bag and opened it to take a look, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "Thank you, senior brother," Lin Yuan said. "Once this is done, there will be rewards." That person hugged his hands and said, "Don't worry, senior brother. I will definitely make them disappear from ancient antiquity." Lin Yuan waved his hand and said, "Go." After the man left, Tian Jian walked out and looked at Lin Yuan indifferently. He said, "The person you found outside, are you confident? That kid doesn't seem to be simple." Lin Yuan's expression changed, and he said, "Brother Heavenly Sword, don't worry, he's someone I set up in the outer sect. He's specifically responsible for finding some experts outside to get rid of those who are difficult for us to deal with. It's fine if you can kill it, but it doesn't matter if you can't. Isn't it just a matter of a few holy source stones? Even if we let them into the inner court, do you think they'll be able to survive?" Lin Yuan sneered. Tian Jian was also stunned for a moment before smiling. "You're right." Lin Yuan said, "Brother Heavenly Sword, I heard that Lu's senior sister jumped off a cliff to seek death, but did not succeed. Is that true?" Tian Jian said solemnly, "Brother Lin, your news is fast indeed." When he thought of Lu Luoxi, his fists clenched tightly. When he thought of what had happened at the South Heaven Gate, Tian Jian became even more annoyed. He was scared stiff by an outer court disciple. Such a good chance to obtain Lu Luoxi's body was destroyed by Long Fei. He hated Long Fei to the core. "I want to hack Long Fei into 1,000 pieces." Lin Yuan said, "I am an admirer of senior sister Lu. I care about every single one of her actions." Lin Yuan naturally wanted to obtain the #1 beauty on the goddess list. After that, she walked soullessly to the outer sect and jumped down the ancient cliff. It was just that she did not expect that she did not die and had even returned with a smile on her face. I have never seen her smile before. A smile that can topple tens of thousands of cities. When Lu Luoxi returned to the sect in the morning, he saw her from afar. There was a smile on his face. That happy smile. He had never seen a woman smile so beautifully before. Lin Yuan said, "Could it be that something happened at the ancient cliff?" Heavenly Sword Sect. What? You like Lu Luoxi too? Lin Yuan laughed sinisterly. Who doesn't like the #1 beauty on the goddess board? This morning, he had already gone with Ling Yuan to the great clan elder's place. If my guess is not wrong, it is very likely that they are the people participating in the divine space assessment. Once you pass the examination, at that time, she will be a fairy in the sky, and we will just be mortals on the ground. Lin Yuan's gaze tightened. "Really?" Heavenly Sword Mountain replied. "Do I need to lie to you?" Lin Yuan secretly smiled and said, "Then I really must obtain a senior sister before she takes the examination." "Haha," Heavenly Sword said. "He is very close to the outer sect disciples that you have to deal with. Maybe if you control that brat, you'll be able to grab onto junior sister Lu's weakness." Lin Yuan's eyes flashed. "Really? I don't know about that, but it's possible." Lin Yuan said, "Then I must make good use of him. Hunting 10 Demon Mountain Pythons. Points 10. Collect 1,000-year-old spirit grass. Rewards, 6 points. Help Green Cloud Town get rid of the bandits. Points are 11 points. On Task Palace." Long Fei looked at the mission that was posted today. There were a lot of disciples in the ancient antiquity, and all of the missions that were published every day were accepted by the ancient antiquity, so they were once again released the next day. Some tasks can be repeated. Some of the demon beast hunting and collecting missions were specifically for refining spirit pills, which were used for spirit medicines and were available every day. Low-level spirit grass were relatively safer and had low points. High-level spirit grass could only be found in the deep forest, and this was very dangerous. The points were also relatively higher. There are some tasks that do not change, because no one had ever completed it. As time passed, the points would slowly increase. Lu Luoshi completed one of the three major god missions, the South Heaven Gate, and the second one, the Heaven Stealing Court, appeared. Task credit reward, 900 points. The mission of the South Heaven Gate had been completed. Many people wanted to try their luck in accepting the mission of the Heaven Stealing. However, Long Fei did not want to go at the moment. Since the South Heaven Gate mission was already so difficult, the second trial would be even more difficult. Moreover, no one knew about the quest now, so they would understand it when they returned. Then again, if he didn't take this step, Long Fei didn't want to accept this mission. The Heavenly Court would definitely be in danger. Long Fei looked at his task credit and thought to himself, "These points are probably too little. Forget it. I can only accept one more every day." Long Fei walked to the window, handed over the three identity boards, and said, "Senior brother, I will take on 3 missions. One person can only accept 1 task a day. If the quest was a success, or if the quest was a failure, the mission would be a second one. If the quest was with him, then he would not be able to accept it." The senior brother glanced at Long Fei and said, "The 3 of you are all newbies. Are you sure you want to receive this kind of high-level mission? Why don't you start with a low-level mission?" A high-level mission was too dangerous. They had the duty to remind every disciple of the danger of this mission. Long Fei said, "Thank you, senior brother, for your reminder. I would like to challenge the high difficulty level." He looked at Long Fei and no longer said anything. He inputted the symbols on the wooden boards and said, "I have accepted the mission. I wish you good luck." Long Fei said again, "Thank you." These 3 missions were almost all in one place. 3 at a time. This will save you the time to go back and forth from the mission. Long Fei walked out of the task palace. He did not go to the teleportation palace to use a teleportation gate. Only elders or the black market would have such a token. A single one could have up to 1,000 holy source stones. To Long Fei, 1,000 holy source stones was a huge sum of money. He couldn't afford to use it right now. He couldn't use the teleportation circle, not even the flying beasts. He could only use his feet. However, the missions that he had accepted were all deep within the mountain range of the ancient antiquity, and were not too far away. Long Fei walked out of the ancient antiquity. Not long later, at the entrance of the sect, a man said lightly, "He is your target this time." Long Fei entered the deep mountains. Long Fei entered the deep mountains. The power of the dragon god was released. The idea moved. His body immediately exploded forward, stepping on a tree branch. With a leap, he flew out a few hundred meters, and in the blink of an eye. With another leap, his speed became as fast as a ghost. It moved quickly. I can now easily use the first stage of the ancient dragon body's power. If I did not have the power of the ancient dragon body, who knows how many days I would have to travel. With it, it would be easy. Long Fei thought. The power of the ancient dragon body was divided into 10 levels by Long Fei. With his current cultivation level, he could easily use the level 1 eternal dragon's body without any side effects. The second level was the battle series. His physical body could withstand it, but there was a time limit. If he exceeded that time limit, there would be consequences. If the 3-rate ancient dragon body was used for only half of the duration of the second level, there would be consequences if it was used. Rank 4 was basically a powerful technique, but it was also a form of self-abuse. Level 5. Long Fei had not opened it yet. Rank 6, Rank 7, and later. Right now, he could not open it at all. His body could not handle it. His physical body was not strong enough, and his cultivation was not strong enough either. He could only get to level 5 at most. If he surpassed level 5, his body would probably explode, unless he had a special power protecting his body. The ancient dragon body could not be cultivated in the universal realm, and one had to enter the ancient world to be able to cultivate and improve. If one reached the peak of the 10th level, then that wouldn't be the power of the ancient dragon body, but the true eternal dragon god. Although Long Fei could only open up to level 5 at most, the power of the ancient dragon body was too strong. Basically, in a mortal world, he had yet to meet his match. Voila! Voila! A strong wind blew past his ears, as if he was a speeding car. It would take 2 days to walk. He only needed 3 hours to activate the ancient dragon body. Who? Long Fei landed on the ground and stood at the entrance of a valley. Around him, there were many outer sect disciples entering and exiting, muttering to themselves, "The Fire Bull Valley mentioned in the mission should be here, right? Mission 1, hunt 10 fire bulls. Task goal, bring the fire horn back." Fire horn not only was a type of spiritual medicine, it could also be used as a weapon. The fire hornets had missions every day. Thus, there were quite a few people here. Even, some people stayed here all year round, while others directly sold their fire horn. "Junior brother, are you here to complete the fire horn's mission?" A middle-aged man walked up with 2 fire horn ornaments on his head. He was tall and strong, with messy hair and 2 horns that made him look like the demon ox. Long Fei nodded and said, "And?" The man laughed. "I have ready-made fire hornets here. I can sell them to you cheaply. For a group of 100 holy source stones, how much do you want?" 100. Long Fei's heart tightened as he looked at the man and said, "Do you think I'm such a rich person like you?" The man looked up and down at Long Fei and said, "I don't think so, but don't you have a saying that makes people unable to judge by appearances? What are you doing in such a dangerous place with such a low cultivation level? There's only one way for you to complete your mission, and that is to buy it from me. Don't worry, I've always kept my business affairs a secret. I definitely won't divulge it to anyone." The middle-aged man whispered, "Many people came here to do missions in order to act tough, in order to please women, or in order to show their strength to the elders. This kind of person would usually choose to buy fire horn. In any case, the goal of the mission was the fire horn, so they wouldn't care too much about the process of you obtaining the fire horn. This caused many people to be stationed here. To make money." Long Fei said, "I really don't have money. I can't buy it." The middle-aged man was stunned for a moment before saying, "You can write down the accounts first. It'll be fine if you just hand over some collateral." Long Fei said, "I don't have anything precious with me. I'll go hunt for myself." "Chen Shan, what are you talking about? If you can't afford it, just buy it. If you can't afford it, then don't waste your time." From afar, a guy, who was wearing armor and had equipment that were worth a lot, roared at the middle-aged man. His eyes were filled with contempt. Chen Shan nodded his head and bowed, and said, "Senior brother Zhong, I will be right there." And then, Chen Shan looked at Long Fei and said, "Junior brother, I'll tell you the truth. Even if you go in, you won't be able to kill the flaming bull. This place has been contracted by Zhong Qi. He has monopolized it. I think you should buy it here." Long Fei did not know who Zhong Qi was, and asked, "Who is Zhong Qi?" Chen Shan was startled, and said, "You don't even know the second ranked out of the 10 great outer sect experts, Zhong Qi? Are you a disciple of the ancient antiquity? Or who? You're a newbie?" Long Fei said, "I just entered the ancient antiquity a few days ago. I don't care if it's Zhong Qi or the Bell Monster. I am here to complete the mission." Finished. Long Fei then walked into the valley. Chen Shan couldn't even shout. Just as he was about to step into the valley, 2 disciples holding on to long spears stopped Long Fei in his tracks and asked, "Have you paid the passage fee?" Long Fei said, "Passage fee?" A disciple said, "That's right." Long Fei said, "I will never pay the fare." "No, you won't hand it over. If you don't hand it in, then don't go in." One of the disciples stared at Long Fei and asked, "A waste of the swordsman rank dares to come here?" Not waiting for him to finish, Long Fei's figure moved. He raised his hand and slapped his palm down. "Pa! Bam!" The disciple was instantly slapped onto the ground. Blood trickling down the corner of his mouth, his eyes stared straight at Long Fei and said with a heavy voice, "You dare to hit this, daddy? You dog! I will take your life." Without waiting for him to crawl back up, Long Fei stepped on him and asked, "Whose life do you want?" He exerted force with his feet. Bam! Yi Zichen directly stepped his head into the mud and ate a mouthful of mud. He struggled madly, but he just couldn't get up. Another disciple looked at Long Fei and thrusted his spear. The spear's shadows descended like rain and enveloped Long Fei's entire body. His longsword moved in quick succession. The long spear was cut to a crisp. The longsword was placed on the disciple's neck as he said, "Try moving." The two of them did not dare to move. Long Fei said indifferently, "Can I go in now?" Clap, clap. What skill! I never thought that the cultivation of the swordsman rank would actually have such skill. This is the first time I've seen it. Within the tent, a man came out. It was the senior brother that was dressed in armor. He narrowed his eyes, walked to Long Fei's side with a smile, glanced at the guards on the ground, and said with a heavy voice, "Get the hell out of my way yet." The two of them quickly left the room. He looked at Long Fei and said, "Junior brother, did you come to Firebull Valley to complete a mission?" Long Fei replied, "Yes." He smiled lightly and said, "Outer disciple? New guy?" Long Fei replied, "Yes." He continued, "Then do you know who I am? Whose territory is this?" Long Fei replied, "I don't know." The corner of his mouth turned cold. His voice also became gloomy and cold, and he said, "Listen well, I'm Zhong de Zhong. This is my brother's territory. My brother is called Zhong Qi. If you know what's good for you, then scram far away." Long Fei raised the corner of his mouth and laughed coldly. "What if I don't understand? What if I don't?" Long Fei raised his gaze and let out a cold snort. "What if I don't?" Long Fei raised his gaze and let out a cold snort. Zhong Datong smiled. He laughed very loudly, very arrogant. Zhong Dazong looked at Long Fei and said, "I see that you have some strength to give you a chance since you don't care about face then. Go to hell." As soon as he finished speaking, the aura on Zhong Dazong's body suddenly rose explosively. All of them crushed towards Long Fei's mind, and at that instant, his pupils trembled. His oppressive strength crushed Long Fei's mind like a clay ox entering the sea and instantly disappeared. It did not cause the slightest amount of damage. Originally, he wanted to use his higher realm to crush Long Fei to his knees and then step on him. However, the pressure was useless. Zhong Datong's reaction was also quick. Using his aura, he struck out with his palm. A flame emerged from the center of his palm. Burning sea palm of the raging inferno. Boom! The flames roared, and a blazing aura pounced towards Long Fei. "Get down!" Zhong Dazong let out a heavy sound. He was very confident in his raging inferno ocean palm, as his swordsman rank could not be blocked. However, Long Fei's gaze tensed up, and his right hand sank. Boom! His muscles swelled. He poured his strength into it. Super power boxing. He aimed at Zhong Datong's palm and punched, at the same time releasing the power of Ancient Dragon Body Level 1. Bam! The two forces clashed. Long Fei did not move an inch. Zhong Dazong flew out with a bang. With a thud, he fell to the ground, blood spurting out from his mouth, and unable to get back up for a long time. Long Fei did not even glance at him. This kind of low-level monster was useless to him, so he did not need any EXP and did not want to take any EXP. Some low-level monsters were useless. Long Fei retracted his aura, looked at Zhong Dezhong, who was half dead, and lightly said, "Can I go in now?" Finished. Long Fei then walked into the valley. Many people were stunned by Long Fei's actions. He dares to hit Zhong Qi's brother? Does he want to die? F***CK. Isn't this kid too big? You have already offended the second powerhouse of the outer sect. So how can you continue to be like this in the future? You don't know your limits. How can a newbie be so arrogant? Zhong Qi is the great powerhouse of the Sword Saint. This kid is definitely going to die. He was ranked second among the 10 geniuses of the outer sect. Zhong Qi's cultivation could not be underestimated. There were at least tens of thousands of outer core disciples, but to be ranked second amongst so many people showed how strong he was. No one in the outer sect dared to offend Zhong Qi. Zhong Dazong was the younger brother of Zhong Qi, and now that Long Fei had beaten him half to death, Zhong Qi would definitely not let this matter go. However, Zhong Qi was cultivating in seclusion, making the final preparations for the intersect examination 2 months later. Otherwise, he would have been here very soon. Zhong Dazong simply got up from the ground. His face was pale, but his eyes were fierce. He said heavily, "Wait for me. I will not let you go." Long Fei did not want to waste time. Sometimes, problems that could be solved with a fist were not what he was thinking about. He just wanted to do his mission quietly, enter the inner sect, then enter the divine space, find the Emperor Xian, and kill him. Fire Bull Valley. The outer sect disciples could be seen everywhere, forming groups of 3 to 5 to hunt down the fire ox. Long Fei ran into the deep valley alone. The fire bulls in the valley were of a higher level. When they saw humans appear, the fire bulls acted as if they had seen a red cloth that stimulated them. He instantly went berserk. Flames spewed out of his nose and breath, and his entire body was set ablaze. The reason why they were fire cows was because their bodies could be ignited. It's a fire attribute demon beast. Slicing the ground with his front legs, he lowered his body and rushed towards Long Fei like a bolt of lightning. His speed was extremely fast. The surrounding trees were also instantly set on fire, and a long path of fire was drawn on the ground. Moo! Long Fei pulled out his great sword and did not release the spirit chi of the ancient dragon body. Berserk Beast Sword Technique. Ascending Dragon. He raised his sword. A sword beam burst out from the ground. It directly exploded on the belly of the firebull. However, the huge firebull only trembled slightly. Its abdomen was in pain, and it became even more furious. With their heads lowered, 2 firehorns flew out towards Long Fei. Bam! Long Fei blocked with his long sword, his arms becoming numb, the blazing flames about to burn him up. Moo! The fiery bull roared. He shook his head and attacked again. His strength was quite ferocious. Long Fei frowned, his right arm moved, superpower boxing. He punched his forehead and heart. The fire cow's head split open. The fire cow let out a mad cry in pain, but it became even more crazy and knocked Long Fei flying. Holy *T. He's still going crazy? Long Fei somersaulted in the air, landing and retreating a few steps. It was also at this time the 4 outer court disciples walked out. One of them mocked, "Have you never seen a person that hunts down a firebull like this before, competing with a firebull in brute strength? Junior brother, you're too arrogant, aren't you? The fiery gilt steel ox is injured now. We could take over now." The 4 of them sneered at the same time. The flame ox went crazy. Its head and abdomen were injured, and its strength weakened. It wouldn't be able to last much longer. The 4 of them jumped up and surrounded the firebull. Long Fei said softly, "Stealing my monsters?" One of them laughed. "What's wrong? Are you in a bad mood?" "Ha ha ha, seeing that you're from the same sect. Otherwise, even you would be crippled." "Ha!" A few of them laughed. The supply of firehorn could not meet the demand. So how could Long Fei miss this opportunity when he was alone? Naturally, they had to go up and kill Steel. Long Fei laughed. "It's really the same as in the game. People are bullying others." One of the disciples laughed. "We just want to bully with our numbers. What can you do about that?" "OL 3, don't waste time talking to him. Let's finish him off first." The 4 of them were about to attack the fiery gilt steel ox. However, suddenly, their vision blurred, and Long Fei appeared right in front of them. Without waiting for them to react, Long Fei punched down heavily. Boom! The fire cow fell to the ground, lying on the ground, lifeless. The flames on his body were extinguished as well. Long Fei stood on top of the flame ox and looked at the 4 of them. He smiled lightly and said, "Stealing my monster?" He killed the firebull with a single punch. The 4 of them were dumbfounded. Looking at Long Fei on the back of the firebull, they were a little confused and looked at each other. Long Fei said, "What's wrong? Do you still want to steal it?" The reason for killing the firebull was also for the firehorn. Since Long Fei had yet to harvest the firehorn, they would still have the chance to snatch it away. A pair of firehorn was worth tens or even hundreds of holy source stones. This was not a small number for any outer court disciple. Snatch. The 4 of them swallowed their saliva. At the same time, the 4 of them kneeled on the ground and said, "Boss, accept us as your little brothers." This sudden change in events caught everyone off guard. This sudden change in events caught everyone off guard. Long Fei thought that they would continue to snatch it, but they directly kneeled on the ground. Moreover, all of their eyes flashed as they looked at Long Fei with reverence. Long Fei replied, "Not interested, little brother. If you want to take it, you have to take it from Phantom. The cultivation of the four of them. There was no need to take it. Taking it was useless, and the path he was taking was too dangerous. They would be in danger if they followed." Seeing how Long Fei rejected them so straightforwardly, the four of them said at the same time once again, "Boss, if you don't accept us, we will kneel on the ground and not get up." Long Fei said, "Whether you can stand up or not has nothing to do with me. You can kneel for as long as you want, and the ground is not mine. However, I must remind you that there are quite a few fiery bulls around here. You must be careful." Finished. Long Fei had already collected the fire horn. He was ready to leave. The four of them shouted, "Boss, boss." Long Fei did not stop. Just as he entered the dense forest and disappeared from their field of vision, he stopped and asked, "What did you say just now?" Long Quang Dao. The four of them are a bit special. They are respectively the special physiques of metal, wood, fire, and earth. It's just that they didn't sense it, and the energy in their bodies hasn't awakened either. That's why I told you to accept them. How strange. Master, I feel that your luck after reincarnating is exceptionally good. You could even encounter 4 of the 5 elements of the 5 elements physique. If their physiques can become a controller of the 5 element laws in the future, then they are the best choice. Long Quang indifferently said. There was excitement in his voice. The 5 elements bodies were not common, and even in the divine spaces, they were extremely rare. However, Long Fei encountered 4 of the 5 elements in an instant, and it was one of those 4 lines that had not undergone any form of cultivation and had not been awakened. They were a piece of unpolished jade. If they were to randomly carve it, it would instead waste their potential. It was best not to awaken. As long as they got Dragon Quang's reminder, the 4 of them would soar into the sky. Long Fei said, 4 of the 5 elements? Long Quang, are they really as good as you said? Long Quang Dao, Master, I can't trick anyone, The 4 of them have great potential. If I were to awaken the power of the 5 elements in their bodies, they would definitely soar to the heavens. The 4 of them are rare. My suggestion is to accept them while I train them. Long Quang did not want Long Fei to miss this opportunity. This was also why Long Fei suddenly stopped. He needed to secretly observe the reactions of the 4 people. Big brother, what should we do? If he doesn't accept us, are we really going to kneel here and not get up? I mean it. There are really quite a few fireballs here. What if just one of them comes rushing out? Brother, it's not a good idea for us to kneel here. Furthermore, have you forgotten that little sister is still waiting for us at home? If we can't earn enough points to exchange for the Heaven Water Pearl to extend little sister's life, then, that's right, big brother, little sister's life is more important. But even if the 4 of us join forces, we wouldn't be able to fight against a single fireball, and our mission is to form 10 groups of firehorn. The 4 of them fell silent. They lowered their heads, each with an uncomfortable expression on their faces. Originally, they would not have come here because of their cultivation level, but in order to exchange for Heaven's water beads, they had no choice but to take the risk and enter. They had wandered around the valley for a few days without killing a single flame ox. They wanted to look for their backers and worshipped a few big bosses in the valley, but no one wanted to take them. Not only that, they were mocked and bullied by others. They wanted Long Fei to be their backer. However, their cultivations were too weak. Who would put them in their eyes? The weak were like this. No one thought highly of him. Even if they were to form a team with someone, they would be despised by that person. Yo, isn't this the trash group? What is it? Kneeling down and kowtowing to the boss again? Haha, with just the 4 of you trash, who would want you? My house is missing a toilet. Why don't you go wash it? Haha. The group walked out from the forest on the other side. There were more than a dozen of them. Looking at the 4 of them kneeling on the ground, he started laughing at them. Their faces darkened, and they didn't dare to raise their heads. It was just like an inferiority complex. Big bro, it's the Blazing Flame Squadron. Let's go. Kneeling down will only make them laugh even more. I told you, you shouldn't have come to the ancient antiquity. Take a look at what we have learned in the past few years. And now you're putting my life in it. One of them stood up and said, let's go. If he stayed, he would only be mocked. But after the four stood up, the members of Team Inferno blocked their way and smiled. What? You want to leave? Don't. We haven't even laughed yet. Ha. The Fire Squad disciple laughed again. The four men's eyes grew dark. What do you want? The captain walked out and looked at the four of them with disdain. Don't blame me for not giving you a chance. You four enter the Firebull Cave and lure out the Fire Cow. Gather 10, and I'll give you a bull's horn. All the fireflies in the Firebull Valley had come out of the hole. Some people said that there was a divine treasure inside the Firebull Cave. A lot of people want to take risks. However, the people who entered the cave had not come out yet. All four of their faces changed as they said, the Firebull Cave? Everyone knows that if we enter the Firebull Cave, we will die. Who do you want us to be cannon fodder? The captain said with a smile, you know quite a lot. If you want to obtain the fire horn, you can only rely on us. This is your only chance. The Firebull Cave was extremely dangerous. If you go in, you die. Even Zhongqi, who controlled the Firebull Valley, didn't dare to go down. There was no way they could survive if they went down. However, just as Captain Lai had said, they had no other choice. This might be their only chance to complete the mission. The four of them looked at each other. The person in the lead said, what if we don't agree? The Liehu captain smirked and said, I was just giving you a chance. Do you know what that chance is? It's a chance to live. Understood. Do you think you have a choice? Ha. Everyone laughed. Very simple. If the four didn't have a choice, they had to enter, even if they didn't want to. If he didn't enter, he would die. If he entered, he might even have a slight chance. This was the weak. He didn't even have the ability to control his immediate destiny. The four gritted their teeth and clenched their fists, but to no avail. At this moment, Long Fei walked out and said indifferently, my little brother, why should I listen to your commands? As soon as his voice sounded, everyone turned to look as well. The four of them were stunned for a moment. Seeing Long Fei walk over, they were a little confused and stood in place, not knowing what to do. He was stunned for half a minute before reacting. Be boss. Long Fei nodded in satisfaction. Captain Lai looked at Long Fei, his eyes narrowing slightly as he asked, your little brother? The people at the side could immediately see through Long Fei's cultivation and immediately mocked. How dare you act tough in front of us with your swordsman rank cultivation? Brat, I'll give you a second. Scram out of our line of sight. Remember, you have to scram. What's going on? Do you think that the trash of the swordsman rank would dare to come out and act cool? The swordsman rank was too low. It was even lower than the four of them. Long Fei could not be bothered and said to the four of them, let's go. The four of them looked at Long Fei and said, oh. Long Fei was about to leave. Captain Lai spoke coldly and said, you want to leave? You really don't put me, Huliehua, in your eyes, do you? As soon as he finished, several disciples blocked Long Fei's path. Long Fei stopped and turned around to look at Captain Hua and said, then how can I put you, Huliehua, in my eyes? Huliehua said, either you become my cannon fodder and enter the Firebull Cave, or the five of you will crawl under us today. Ha. Kid, did you hear me? Get under our crotch. How dare a swordsman level trash metal in other people's business? Take a piss and look at yourself. Do you really think you can't get points? A series of taunts. Boss, why don't you go first? Yeah, we'll stay here for now. You can go by yourself. We can't implicate you. Although they had watched Long Fei kill the flame ox with one punch, they had not expected that he would do that. As cultivation was not simple, adding that he had so many people, it was impossible for Long Fei to be his opponent. Although they were afraid of death, they had their own principles. You can't implicate others. The corner of Long Fei's mouth slightly hooked up and said, Don't worry. Since I've accepted you guys as my lackeys, as my boss, I should be able to let you guys experience my strength. The four of them were shocked. One of the lackeys said, "You be asterisk starred. What were you laughing at just now?" Finished. With one step, he arrived in front of Long Fei. With the great sword Sek's primary realm, he released his chi to form a pressure that heavily smashed on a Long Fei. At the same time, he slapped Long Fei's face. Pah! A resounding slap across the face. Long Fei stood in place without moving an inch. The lackey Luo fell to the ground. The 5-finger marks on his face were exceptionally clear, and he immediately fainted. They simply did not see how Long Fei had taken action. Everyone's face changed. "You dog, I think you're looking for death. How dare you attack our members? Kill him." Long Fei hooked his fingers and said, "Come here. I will let your captain know how I view him." It was filled with mockery. The members were all enraged as they rushed towards Long Fei. All of the disciples moved at the same time, each one of them with a higher cultivation level than Long Fei. The four of them stood at Long Fei's left and right side slightly. "It was just that," Long Fei said lightly. "Just watch carefully, you don't need to do anything now." As soon as he finished, Long Fei took a step forward, and the walk like a snake rushed into the crowd. Every time the sound of slap rang out, a person would fall to the ground. He couldn't react at all, and he couldn't resist it at all. After falling on the ground, he instantly turned into a dead dog. After a few seconds, Long Fei stood in front of Hu Liehua. Behind him were all the members of the Fierce Tiger Guild, screaming in pain as they rolled on the ground. Long Fei looked at Hu Liehua and said indifferently, "Right now, I'm still putting you in my eyes, right?" Hu Liehua swallowed all of his words. His gaze tensed and was somewhat trembling as he did not dare to look directly into Long Fei's eyes, and said, There is, and I put it in my eyes. Just now I was blind enough to not recognize MT Tai. I was wrong. Please forgive me, senior brother." Hu Liehua was very clear that if Long Fei were to raise his hand, he would be slapped to the ground like everyone else. Long Fei could not afford to offend him. Since he couldn't afford to offend her, he had to admit it. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "You admit defeat? Weren't you being arrogant just now? You think I'll let you off just because I'm scared?" Either Long Fei didn't make a move, or he wouldn't let you off the hook the moment he made a move. Hu Liehua kneeled on the ground with a thump and said, "Senior brother, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Even my pants are wrong. I'm begging you to forgive me. I won't dare anymore." Long Fei looked at the four of them and said, "Apologize to them." Hu Liehua immediately apologized to the four of them. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again." Long Fei said, "Is that all? Didn't you just tell us to get under your crotch?" Hu Liehua's gaze sank, looked at Long Fei, and said, "Don't you dare go too far." Long Fei laughed. "I like bullying people too much." "Ow, are you unhappy?" Hu Liehua said, "We are all outer sex senior brother S. Do you have to do this?" Long Fei said, "You're just kneeling on the ground and say you're a senior brother disciple of the same sect? Why didn't I remember that they were disciples of the same sect when I made them become cannon fodder just now?" Hu Liehua said, "I'm kneeling, so be it. I admit my wrongs, if you still won't forgive me." Long Fei laughed. "What do you want?" Hu Liehua said, "I am Zhong Qi's senior brother's cousin. It is not good for you to offend me." The moment he finished, Long Fei slapped him across and said, "You dare to be so king arrogant with lousy?" "Pa." Hu Liehua's mouth was bleeding, his eyes staring straight at Long Fei. He said, "Brat, you dare hit me. My cousin will not let you go." Finished. Long Fei slapped him again. "It's useless if your cousin grandfather won't let me off." This slap directly knocked Hu Liehua unconscious. He still couldn't calm himself down and sent him flying a few feet away with a single kick. F***CK. How dare you act so arrogantly in front of Lousy? The four of them were dumbfounded. No matter how arrogant Hu Liehua was, he was not as arrogant as her. So what if it was Team Burning Fire? So what if it was Hu Liehua? So what if he was the second-ranked Zhong Qi among the top 10. I need to give them face? The four of them walked in front of Long Fei and said, Boss, Zhong Qi is the second strongest disciple in the outer sect. You've offended him. Who didn't know of Zhong Qi's methods in the outer sect? To be able to become the second powerhouse, he had to rely on himself and his fists. He had crushed them all the way. No one who offended him had a good ending. Long Fei rolled his eyes at them and said, You all must remember, all of you must not be cowardly. Whoever dares to bully you will be beaten to death. If you guys can't even beat me, do you understand? Zhong Qi. Only F** King Zhong Kuei has come. I'll F** King beat him to death too. Boss is awesome. Boss is awesome. Boss is mighty. The boss is domineering. Eldest brother's sky breaking dawn. The four of them said each other, their eyes brimming with respect and respect. They kowtowed to Long Fei, wishing that they could kneel beside Long Fei once again. Men have gold under their knees. However, it wasn't easy for them to meet someone who liked them. So what if they kneeled down once more? After wandering around Fireball Valley for a few days, they were bullied everywhere. Not only was he taunting her, he was even being chased around and beaten up by others. Long Fei had helped them, and in their hearts, it was as if they had found a backer. Long Fei said, Don't be in such a hurry to call me boss. The four of them were startled, and their eyes tensed up as they looked at Long Fei. Long Fei continued, Being my little brother is not that easy, and I also won't become your backer. If you just want to find a backer to roam the world, then quickly scram now. This time, I saved all of you. Next time, I won't attack again. Everything will depend on you. Even if the four of them had the 5 elements physique, but so what? He wasn't their nanny. If they wanted to follow him, then they would have to rise and become stronger. The weak could not even control their own destinies. So what was the point of living like this? The four looked at Long Fei and clenched their fists. One of them said, Boss, we do not want to live our lives. We want to become stronger. The reason we entered the ancient antiquity is to become stronger, but our cultivation, it's been a full 5 years since I've broken through. We also did not find the root of the problem in the ancient antiquity. Who doesn't want to become stronger? We also want to live. We don't want to be mocked, bullied, and called trash every day. We don't want to live in this kind of world, but it's as if there's some sort of restriction within our bodies, and no matter how much effort we put into cultivating, we just can't break through. Another person said, Eyes. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. The four lowered their heads. It was very hard. He wanted to become stronger, but yet he was still unable to break through. It was as if he wasn't suitable for cultivation. Long Guangdao. The reason why they're unable to break through with their current cultivation levels is because they have yet to awaken the power within their bodies. If they could not, they would not be able to do so for the rest of their lives. This is the power of the 5 elements. Moreover, they do not know how to complement each other, but this is the problem. If they knew how to borrow each other's power to cultivate, then the 5 elements in their body would have awakened a long time ago. However, this is just right for them to start all over again. Long Quang indifferently said, They were like a piece of white paper. If it was filled with words, he would not know how to make a move. Right now, there was not a single word on this piece of white paper. If Long Quang were to make a move, it would be much simpler and much better for them. Long Fei looked at the four of them and said, I am here to help with cultivation. I will help you all rise to prominence. The four of them looked at Long Fei. A light flashed in their eyes, and one of them asked, Boss, I do not doubt your ability, but the 4 of us. It should be said that with the physiques of the 5 people, even Outer Door Presbyter would not be able to find any reason. Long Fei said, Outer Door Presbyter isn't much. If I say I can help you all break through, you guys just need to trust me. Right. You said 5 of you just now. There are 4 of them. Could it be the other one also has the 5 elements physique? Assemble the 5 elements? Long Guangdao. People with the 5 elements bodies are naturally attracted to each other, and the person who doesn't appear is very likely to be the water branch. One of them said, We still have a junior sister. She was beaten up until she was seriously injured and was at home. So we came out to earn some points to exchange for a water spirit pearl for her healing, but we 4 of us are useless. The 4 of them lowered their heads again, feeling choked with sobs. Long Dao said, "Water spirit pearl, seems like my guess is right. That girl should be from the water element realm, and if she wants the water spirit pearl to heal her injuries, she might be on the verge of awakening. All 5 elements are present. Master, we've struck it rich this time." Long Fei said to Long Dao, "Are you confident that you can awaken their 5 elements' power?" Long Dao, "Don't worry. I have quite a few sets of cultivation methods for the 5 elements." Long Kuang was very confident in this aspect. Long Fei nodded. "That's good." And then, Long Fei looked at the 4 of them and asked, "How many fire horn do you still need to complete the mission?" Jean said, "We don't have a single fire horn." The 4 of them wandered for several days, and it could be said that they had accomplished nothing. It wasn't easy for him to steal a monster that was injured by Long Fei, but in the end, they were all scared silly by Long Fei. Long Fei muttered, "My mission plus theirs, I would need to kill 19 fire cows. It would be too much effort to find so many fire cows in such a short time." Thinking back to the Firebowl Cave that Hu Liehua had mentioned just now, Long Fei asked, "How much do you know about the Firebowl Cave?" The Firebowl Cave is located in the deepest part of the Firebowl Valley. Firebowl Cave. The Firebowl Cave is located in the deepest part of the Firebowl Valley. "Boss, that place is too dangerous." "Boss, that place is too dangerous." Long Fei didn't think much of it and said, "Lead the way to the Firebowl Cave." Danger? As long as there were enough of them, no matter how dangerous it was, it didn't matter. With that, Long Fei strode towards the bottom of the valley. The 4 of them looked at Long Fei and muttered, "Will they still treat us as cannon fodder?" "It can't be. He doesn't need to. We can't say for sure. Why else would they want us to go to the Firebowl Cave?" After all, this was their first time interacting with him, so they did not know much about Long Fei's character. In addition, the Fire Ox Cave contained no signs of life, and entering would mean death. They were naturally very worried. However, Jean frowned and said, "It wasn't easy to get someone to take us. We can't slander him like this. Even if we die, we will accept it. It's not easy for us to this point, and Boss saved us before. If it wasn't for him, we would have already died at Hu Liehua's hands. The boss gave me my life. Even if he wants to take it back, I'll take it. Since that's the case, then I'll accept it." The 4 of them looked at each other and decided to follow Long Fei. Long Fei heard what they were saying clearly, and the corner of his mouth slightly curled up. He shouted out loud, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and catch up to me." The 4 of them hurriedly followed him. At the mouth of the Firebowl Valley, 2 men dressed like aliens stood at the entrance. One of them shouted angrily, "You dog, you ran really fast. If I didn't know what your mission was, I would have lost you." "The boy is inside. Brother, you guard the exit. I will go in and take his head out." The heat was unbearable. The rocks in the depths of the valley were all red and bare. Not a single blade of grass could grow from them. The heat was unbearable. The rocks in the depths of the valley were all red and bare. Not a single blade of grass could grow from them. Standing at the entrance of the cave, he could feel the heat radiating from it. Gulp, gulp. When the hot wind blew on his body, he felt as if he was being roasted on a fire rack. His entire body was drenched in sweat and was covered in grease. Just a little bit more, and he would have been roasted. Long Fei was covered in sweat as he muttered, "There seems to be something strange inside." Amongst the 4 of them, only Fire's body was slightly normal. The others were also sweating profusely, and their clothes were drenched with sweat. They could not hold on much longer. Long Fei looked at them. If he went in, he wouldn't be able to help himself, so he said, "You guys wait at the cave entrance. I'll go in myself." The 4 of them were stunned. They were prepared to be Long Fei's cannon fodder, but they couldn't do that. They were a little unable to adapt to Long Fei's sudden change in behavior. "Boss, no. Weren't we supposed to go in? Shall we go in and find the way?" Long Fei said lightly, My little brother is my brother. I won't treat my brother's life as child's play. You guys wait outside." Finished. Long Face stepped into the cave. Outside the cave, the four were stupefied. The person who had suspected Long Fei in the beginning blamed himself. "I even King said that. I'm simply not a human. Meeting a good person. From today onwards, he will be our boss, and our lives will be his. If we can't do anything, then we'll just block the blade for him, block the arrow." If at first, the four of them had only treated Long Fei as a brother on the surface and respected him, then now, in their hearts, they had already treated Long Fei as their real big brother. Especially those words that Long Fei had said, they would not take his brother's life as a joke, which made their hearts feel extremely touched. Within the cave, Long Fei's body continued to emit white mist. His skin was incomparably red from being roasted, and the clothes he was wearing looked as if they were about to ignite. Huff! Long Fei took in a deep breath of air. The air was filled with the smell of flames. Upon inhaling it into his body, his internal organs felt as if they were on fire. His physical body couldn't take it. Long Fei moved. Level 1 dragon body. Buzz! After releasing the power of the ancient dragon body, Long Fei's body relaxed and returned to normal. The blazing aura beneath the ancient dragon body did not have any reaction at all, as it completely did not come close to his body. This was the power of the dragon's body. Moo! With a roar, flames spouted out of its nose, and a flame bull dashed out at a breakneck speed. Its head sank as two sharp horns pointed at Long Fei's chest. So irritable. He's even more manic than the fire cows outside, and he's already going berserk. There must be some treasure or something that these fire cows are guarding. Long Fei did not want to waste time. With a flick of his forehead, he threw out a heavy punch at the fire bull. Boom! It hit the bull's head, and it lay flat on the ground. The bloody wound on his head also disappeared in an instant. After collecting the fire horn, Long Fei continued to delve deeper into the cave. The higher the temperature, the more the surrounding rocks would melt. No wonder no one who entered would be able to leave the cave alive. If the temperature was not high enough, they would be burnt to ashes. Roar! Another flaming bull dashed out, its strength becoming even more ferocious. Its size was also larger. His eyes turned red as he glared at Long Fei, who was breathing heavily and spitting out flames, rushing towards him. Long Fei blocked with both of his arms. Boom! He stepped back, flicked his leg, and flew into the air. Ascending dragon. The sword slashed down. The flame bull was directly cut in half. Death! Long Fei picked up the fire horn and moved forward again. Along the way, he met several fiery bulls that were charging at him. Each of them was fiercer than the other, and each one was fiercer than the last. They were willing to risk their lives. They were rushing towards their deaths. Even if he died, he would still drag them down with him. He was giving his all. This was Long Fei. If it were anyone else, they would have died a long time ago. Stronger and stronger, fiercer and fiercer. Looks like there must be another Fire Bull King. There must be a boss inside. Long Fei finished harvesting the fire horn and went deeper. The environment was even worse now. At first, the rocks were only slowly melting, but now, the two sides of the cave were like lava. The crimson rocks on both sides flowed, and the rocks above would occasionally drop down. Long Fei's level 1 Eternal Dragon's body had endured for a long time, and his skin started to turn red. The temperature was too high. Even his clothes were burned into a ball. Hoo. Long Fei took a deep breath and walked forward. Suddenly, roar, a roar. The entire Fire Bull Valley started to shake. A stream of lava sprayed out from the top of the mountain. A volcano is erupting. A volcano is erupting. Quickly leave the valley. The disciples within the valley who were still hunting down the fire ox became frightened. Even though their cultivation was not weak, they still found it difficult to withstand this natural disaster. However, only one stream of magma was released, but it was not a second stream. In midair, the two immortal-like elderly men suddenly stopped in their tracks. Fire essence is erupting. It seems like there's a pretty good fire attribute demon beast at the bottom of the mountain. It's formed and has cultivated out the fire essence. Brother Dong, aren't you Wuxiu? The level of this fire element. The other person squinted his eyes and tried to sense it. The fire essence is very pure. This demon beast must have trained for at least 3,000 years, and judging from the movements of the mountain, there should be lava underground, using this magma energy to cultivate out fire essence. It can barely be considered a heavenly soul treasure. Perfect, at the critical moment for my eldest disciple to truly break through into the immortal emperor realm. If he had this fire element, he should be able to break through the bottleneck. He should be able to have more confidence in the selection of the divine space and not lose to the Sword Elf Mountains Ling Yuan. Oh, the other old man was stunned. While they were talking, the immortal had already transformed into a streak of light and landed at the peak of Fireball Valley. He lowered his body and charged straight into the mountain. Another old man followed closely behind. The magma that was just spewed out was not ordinary magma. It carried an incomparably rich amount of fire elemental energy and the aura of the heaven and earth holy source. It could be considered a treasure of the world. The appearance of this kind of treasure was something that could not be concealed. It would attract many beasts and would also be discovered by the powerhouse. After the eruption of lava, all of the fire cows in the valley went berserk. They did not continue to attack the humans, but instead turned around and charged into the Fireball Cave. Within the cave, Long Fei had already reached the deepest part of the body. Looking at the scene in front of him, his Adam's apple tumbled. This is the F** King Demon Ox King, right? The flames roared and the magma boiled. The flames roared and the magma boiled. Streaks of golden light shot out from the pit, two gigantic horns glinting with cold light. The muscles all over its body were extremely thick, brimming with immense power. There was a ring hanging from his nose, and his breath was like a flame. There was a long chain around his neck. A thick belt was tied around his waist, with the word king written on it. He was not an ox. He was in human form. It's just that some parts of it haven't evolved well. However, all of this didn't matter. The most important thing was that its body, it flickered with a golden light. Boss, the humanoid boss. It was the first time for Long Fei to meet a boss in this form in the ancient world. Seeing the demon Ox King writhing in the magma, he couldn't help but be excited. Boss, I wonder what the boss looks like. Long Fei was very excited. He opened up the system to have a look. Boss, Fire Bull King rank. Immortal stage attribute. Fire skills. Description. Subduable. A series of simple attributes appeared in the interface of the system. Long Fei rubbed his hands and could not help but chuckle. Subdue my ass. Who knew how long it had been since they last saw a boss? How could they let it go now? Right now, Long Fei was very thirsty. It was as though he had not eaten meat for a few years. Absolutely not. Suddenly, just as Long Fei was about to let out a light laugh. Boom! A wave of heat burst out from the hole, causing the Fireball King to stare blankly. Buzz! The hot wave came, striking Long Fei's body heavily. Long Fei could not control himself and was almost knocked flying. Seeing the look in the Fireball King's eyes, Long Fei's pupils suddenly contracted. The powerful beast aura coming from the Fireball King's body suddenly crushed Long Fei's mind. He lowered his body slightly. The pressure was very strong. At least, it was much stronger than the last time he met the East Ghost King. It doesn't matter if you can take it or not. With continuous attacks filled with immense pressure, Long Fei's body was a little unable to bear it, and the weight continued to increase. A mere human, to dare enter my territory. You are courting death. The Fireball King opened its mouth slightly, staring at Long Fei with disdain. The heat waves from a fire pit were also constantly approaching. It crazily struck Long Fei. This attack wasn't a single attack, but a group attack. Both the heat wave attack and the pressure attack belonged to the group attack. As long as he was in this cave, Long Fei would not be able to hide. You dare to behave atrociously in my territory with such little ability? The Fire Bull King was filled with disdain. He had just cultivated fire elemental energy and evolved into a human. It was already possible to use human language. He could determine the cultivation level of Long Fei by the aura she gave off. Weak. Very weak. The Fire Bull King naturally did not place Long Fei in its eyes. Long Fei raised his eyes. He was unhappy. My little ability? Then let me show you my strength. 3-rate ancient dragon body. Open. Roar. With a roar, the dragon's roar fiercely shook inside Long Fei's body. The heat wave attack was overturned. The pressure attack was completely crushed. The chi on Long Fei's body moved, like a huge dragon suddenly diving down. Its gigantic dragon head stared straight at the Fire Bull King. The Fire Bull King's body sank, and its enormous body looked as if it was about to be pressed under the flames. Its eyes were unfocused, and, at the same time, they revealed a trace of fear. The myriad beast dragon emperor. No matter how you evolve, no matter how strong you are, you're just trash in front of the dragon's might. 3-rate dragon body, might without anger. He directly crushed the Fire Bull King to the point that it couldn't move at all. Even the heat waves in the entire cave had been crushed down, and the flames were no longer rolling about. The Fire Bull King looked at Long Fei foolishly and said, You are human. Why? Why do you have the might of dragon? Long Fei smiled faintly and said, How's my strength? The Fire Bull King stopped talking. Long Fei said, Are you still being arrogant? The Fire Bull King looked at Long Fei and couldn't help but clench her fists tightly and said, Kid, I do not believe that you are a powerhouse of the dragon race. Your cultivation is not fit for a powerhouse of the dragon race. Even if your body's aura turns into dragon's might, but it's not your own power, so moo. The Fire Bull King roared in anger, and the flames on its body fiercely shot out like a fire snake, carrying with it lava. It rolled and moved, shooting out to form a hemisphere, instantly enveloping Long Fei within. Explode. The Fire Bull King let out a heavy cry. All of the magma flames exploded in Long Fei's ears. The corner of Long Fei's mouth hooked up, and he rushed forward. In the instant that the lava exploded, Long Fei directly landed on the head of the Fire Bull King. His fist moved. Super power boxing. Like a giant hammer, it smashed heavily onto the Fire Bull King's head. Bam! The Fire Bull King's 2 gigantic horns instantly cracked, causing him to scream in pain. His body was also blasted into the flames by Long Fei like a nail in the blink of an eye. Moo, moo. The gash on his head also instantly dropped by half. The magma that the Fire Bull King released was also extinguished in an instant. Above Long Fei's body, who was floating in the lava, looked at the Fire Bull King and disdainfully said, You're still being arrogant? Rumble. An explosion rumbled in the depths of the magma. At the same time, the entire Fire Bull Valley was trembling, and the mountains and rivers within a 10-kilometer radius were also trembling. Rocks tumbled down the mountain. The demon beast hummed. It was as if there was a monster underground that wanted to break out from the ground. Roar. The Fire Bull King's roar was like a raging fire bull in Fire Bull Valley. At the same time, a lava fire bull rushed out from the lava. Roar. He charged towards Long Fei and heavily crashed into him. Long Fei dodged lightly, then turned around and chopped down with his palm, directly slicing the fire ox into 2, as if he was cutting a piece of cabbage. Enraged? Come out a few more. I happen to need fire horn. Long Fei said indifferently, his eyes staring at the lava pit. Next, the flames in the magma pit continued to spew out. One after another, the flaming bulls madly charged forward. Roar, roar. The entire mountain range below was shaking, as was the cave. It was the same outside the cave. The fire cows that had charged out from the valley also charged towards Long Fei without a care. Pincer attack. It was abnormally fierce. With a great sword in his hand, Long Fei's body became like a mirage. With a slash and a slash, each of them would be instantly killed. Come, let's see how much you can give birth to. No doubt about it. These fire cows were all made by Fire Bull King. He used the magma underground and combined it with some sort of secret technique he was training in to create these fire bulls. But to Long Fei, these fire cows were a little too weak. It was not enough. Moo! The Fire Bull King let out a roar, and its body became twice as big as before. At this moment, his entire body was covered in magma. At the heart, a crimson-red flame that was incomparably dazzling to the eye was burning. Long Quang suddenly shouted, "Fire essence!" The flame was the size of fist. The flame was the size of fist. The color of the flame was scarlet red, just like the sun that had just risen. It was a bit dazzling. The moment the Fire Bull King rose up from the magma, the temperature of the entire cave began to change. Incomparable heat. The air was filled with the scent of fire. When it entered his body, it felt as if his entire body was on fire. If not for the support of the ancient dragon body, Long Fei's body would have already been burnt to ashes. Fire element? What's that? Long Fei asked. Long Quang Dao. A fire spirit, fire essence. No wonder this guy can cultivate the physique of an adult. So it turns out that he has cultivated fire essence. Looks like he has completely absorbed all the magma in this underground mountain range. Long Quang indifferently said. Long Fei asked, "Is it worth a lot?" Long Fei would not take anything else that Long Quang said to heart. He did not care what the effects were, nor did he care whether he was awesome or not. Did he just want to know how much this thing was worth? Long Quang calmly replied, "Just average." That's boring. Long Fei immediately lost interest. If the item was ordinary, then what was the point? Long Quang Dao. Master, even if you don't look at who you are, this sort of childish thing can at most be considered average to you. For cultivators in the mortal world, this is not something ordinary people would do. That's quite impressive. Aren't there little brothers of the 5 elements outside? This fire essence is just enough to awaken the 5 elements in my body. This fire essence can help him cultivate for 10 years less. How could the words of a dragon be ordinary? He was at least a divine-level existence into the world of mortal world. Hearing Long Quang's words, Long Fei said, "Damn, then why didn't you say so earlier? Brothers of 5 elements had to be nurtured." These fellows were just as Long Quang had said. They were all peerless, unpolished jades. Once they were carved, it would be amazing. Dragon Quang's evaluation of the Brothers of 5 Elements was very high, surpassing Bailey Tian Hai and Zhao Dehan. In other words, their potential was enough for them to enter the divine space. If he wanted to enter the divine space, Long Fei needed helpers. Plus, Brothers of 5 Elements might be able to control the 5 Elements' laws in the future. That's amazing. Rumble. The power on the Fire Bull King's body trembled violently, and with a loud explosion, the entire cave seemed to collapse. The flames in its eyes stared straight at Long Fei, and it said solemnly, "Brat, let me show you my power." Buzz! As soon as he finished, the Fire Bull King's chi released a buzzing sound. The scarlet flame at the location of the heart slightly flickered, and the Fire Bull King inserted both of its hands into the magma. In an instant, Walala, a 10-meter-long gigantic flame war hammer took it out from the magma. The magma was like water and continuously flowed down. The Fire Bull King held onto the warhammer. His arms flexed. Raising high, the fire elemental energy surged again. The furious hammer slammed down. Walala, space began to burn and crack, and crimson cracks began to faintly appear. Long Quang said, "Be careful. His power is filled with fire elemental attacks. Your body hasn't reached the level of invincibility yet." Long Fei watched as the gigantic flame war hammer slashed down and then moved his feet. The walk like snakeskin was up. The war hammer fell to the ground. Rumble! The ground began to crack and the entire mountain began to crack. Moreover, the The place where the warhammer had smashed and it instantly burned with city lava, and those black rocks instantly melted. This sort of power, the damage done, is a bit off the charts. Long Fei said with a faint sound, and said excitedly, "A boss is a boss. It's just not the same." I like it. The fiercer the situation, the more Long Fei liked it. The stronger the boss, the better it was, because the stronger it was, the better it would drop. Long Quang started to say that fire essence was an ordinary thing, and Long Fei lost all interest. But now, the Fire Bull King's explosive power all came from the fire essence. This damage, this explosive strength, this thing was definitely not inferior. Seeing the good stuff, Long Fei's blood started to boil. The momentum came. The Fire Bull King roared out, boom. The Flame War Hammer attacked again. Long Fei's figure blurred, and Snake Trust dodged. The Fire Bull King roared, "Trash human, are you cowering like a dog now? You don't even dare to receive a single hammer strike from me. You scum!" Being mocked by the demon beast, Long Quang said, "His weakness is his heart. If we can take out his fire essence, he will lose his source of power." "What weakness? If you just want to fight him head on, then do it head on. F***CK. You dare to laugh at me?" Long Fei's eyes turned sinister. The power of the three-rate dragon body burst forth. His body moved. Bam! He stepped on the air, and his body shot out, appearing in front of the Fire Bull King in a flash. "You think you can laugh at me?" When the Fire Bull King saw Long Fei appearing in front of it, it moved and roared, "Die!" The Flame War Hammer pulled out its body from the lava and dove towards Long Fei's head with its body covered in flames. This time, Long Fei was completely shrouded under the Flame War Hammer, and there was no place for him to hide. There was no way to dodge it. However, Long Fei also didn't think of dodging. He had appeared in front of the Fire Bull King precisely to confront it head-on. Is the Flame War Hammer awesome? Injuries? The magma carries the power to burn everything. F***CK. This old man wants to fight you. He clenched his fists tightly. Boom, boom. A mark of power shot out from Long Fei's fists and also instantly produced a loud explosion. He raised his eyes and stared at the Flame War Hammer above his head. His body shot out once again and rushed towards the Flame War Hammer. Breaking heaven, King of Strength. He punched the Flame War Hammer heavily. Boom! Flames scattered everywhere. Like fireworks, it exploded in midair, causing Long Fei's fist to burn, and it hurt a little. My level 3 physical body is still not invincible, although it was a bit painful. However, Long Fei's fist had blocked the several tens of thousands of kilograms of hammer strikes. Under the powerful bombardment of the Fire Bull King, it was unable to move an inch forward. Long Fei smirked and laughed coldly. "You laugh at me? Haha." His left fist moved once again. Bang! Bam! Bam! Suddenly, Long Fei's fist struck the Flame War Hammer like a torrential storm. The lava on the Flame War Hammer exploded continuously. This was not the scene of the fireworks anymore. It was now like a meteor shower, with lava flying everywhere. The number of Flame War Hammer continued to decrease. The Fire Bull King continued to press down. However, it was simply impossible to suppress it. Not only that, his arms were also becoming numb, as they were completely unable to withstand Long Fei's attack. In a short span of 10 seconds, the 10-meter-long Flame War Hammer only had the handle of the War Hammer in its hands. Long Fei looked down from above and said coldly, "Come, you're trying to act cool with lousy again. Just right in front of you. 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 Hanging up again? Since I've already chopped you, let's see how you're going to hang me. Flame War Hammer? Smash it into pieces and hammer it one more time." The Fire Bull King's arms were about to dislocate. It was very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. What was difficult to bear was not the fact that his Flame War Hammer had been destroyed by Long Fei, but the fact that he was being crushed by Long Fei. Only then did he evolve his own strength into a mortal stage realm. However, he had been crushed by a human with only swordsman rank. How could he bear with such resentment? The hair on top of the Fire Bull King's head stood up straight, as if it was going to explode. Ah! He let out a wild cry, and the cave began to shake violently. The lava started to burn crazily and was constantly boiling. At this time, the Fire Bull King's fire elemental energy also exploded. It formed into a scarlet halo of light, which lingered and formed a special seal. This scene, Long Fei watched in a daze. Damn, is this really the rise of an ox? The aura on the Fire Bull King was completely wrong. He was truly driven mad by Long Fei and sank into an extremely strong berserk state. That's not right. F***CK. Is it Mondo? Long Fei muttered, stared at the Fire Bull King and smiled. Not bad. There's still more power. The Fire Bull King was completely scarlet red and had gone berserk. His hands sank as he reached into the depths of the lava. Walala. The sound of boiling lava could be heard again as a crimson mace was pulled out. Damn, is this a magic trick? Long Fei laughed. Long Guangdao. Master, be careful. He's already completely enraged by you. Long Fei laughed. I want him to be angry. Tell him to release his strongest power. Long Guangdao, why? Long Fei said, because this is so great. Boom! With a sweep of the Fire Bull King's mace, the flames exploded outwards, causing the entire cave to turn scarlet red. As if it was going to melt, he pointed heavily at Long Fei and said, I want to kill you. He took a step forward. With one hand, he grabbed towards Long Fei. Long Fei gently leaped forward as the snake's tongue beneath the ancient dragon body moved too quickly, as if it was flashing across the sky every single time. Long Fei did not jump away. He was not far from the Fire Bull King, only about 2 meters away. The halo of fire surrounding the Fire Bull King had a tremendous power. Not only that, it also had a special defensive power that was unique to fire. Long Fei was secretly shocked and said, the combination of Oxhead's Big and Meng duos W? Walala. Unable to grab hold of it with one hand, the Fire Bull King smashed towards Long Fei with its staff. Long Fei did not dodge, and with his arms crossed, he blocked the incoming hammer. Bang! A powerful shock wave burst out. Long Fei's body also sunk slightly. What a strong power! I'm not playing with you anymore. The 3-rate ancient dragon body had a time limit, and it would have a certain degree of side effects, but the side effects were something Long Fei could accept. However, he could not be too late. Otherwise, Long Fei's body would have been in great pain. The pain of his body being torn apart and his spiritual energy being drained was simply too excruciating. Thus, he suddenly raised both of his hands, blocking the Wolf Fang mace. Then, he moved his body, and with a leap, he directly landed on top of the Fire Bull King's head. The scarlet-red halo of flames continued to attack Long Fei. Long Fei tightened the center of his brows and sank his right fist behind him. The Fire Bull King's eyes stared angrily as it released a roar. The fire essence around its heart had become more glaring than ever before. He exerted his strength to the limit. However, Long Fei coldly snorted, "Get down! Roar!" There was a dragon's roar in his voice. It was as if a dragon was roaring. Moreover, at this moment, Long Fei's body seemed to have been wrapped up by the illusory image of a huge dragon, surrounding his body from the left and right, punching towards the head of the Fire Bull King ruthlessly, as if a huge dragon was smashing down. Rumble, rumble, rumble. It was like a mad explosion. The shock waves were so powerful that it was visible to the naked eye. When the flames on his body came in contact with Long Fei's power, they quickly shattered. His body also unceasingly bent and sank. Bam! He fell to his knees. The top of his head split open. Flaming red blood gushed out. In the end, bang! The huge body fell to the ground. The cave sank in, and rubble fell to the ground. Half of the body was buried. The aura of the Fire Bull King was rapidly weakening, and the temperature of the cave was quickly decreasing as well. Hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo! The Fire Bull King, who was lying on the ground, unable to move, gasped for breath. Its eyes were unfocused as it stared at Long Fei, who was slowly falling. Master, Please spare me. At this time, the Firebolt King gave in. He didn't have the slightest temper. He didn't dare to use any more strength. He didn't have any more strength now. Let you go? Long Fei looked at the last bit of HP on the head of the Firebolt King and said, I'm not here to let you go. Why should I let you go? The Firebolt King said, I can become your war pet. I can be loyal to you forever. Long Fei disdained my ass. Don't waste Laozi's time. You can report to Yama now. While they were talking, Long Fei punched down. He did not want to continue. Bam! The Firebolt King did not have any chance to retaliate. Long Fei's fist immediately reduced its HP to 0. At this moment, the system sounded out. Long Fei's eyes lit up. He could not help but become excited. Exploded. Dropped. Give me some good stuff. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Firebolt King. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining first-tier fire elemental. Long Fei waited for a few seconds, and when there were no more notifications, he immediately scolded. System, damn you. I worked so hard, and you already dropped a piece of fire essence? Can't you be a little more King tricky? Just as Long Fei finished cursing, the system once again rang out, but this time, it was not a notification sound. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining a special reward for killing Firebolt King. Long Fei was stunned again. Damn, a special reward? Big Brother system sure is impressive. Long Fei turned his head faster than a book could be turned. 1 second he was cursing, the next second he was laughing. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining a special reward skill. Determination of Spirit. Determination? What kind of skill is that? Wait, I seem to have thought of something. This skill seems to be... Suddenly, Long Fei's gaze turned cold, as though he thought of something, and his eyes instantly flashed with light. Determination. The ultimate move of Oxhead Chief Alistair? Damn. With this move, his defense was heaven-defying. All kinds of immunity. Moreover, this was merely a familiarity within a game. When placed on Long Fei, the strength of the ancient dragon body could be said to be extremely terrifying. Long Fei did not think that the system would reward him with a special set of skills. Ding! Do you wish to cultivate it? Cultivate! Long Fei did not hesitate. He had to cultivate this kind of skill. One more skill appeared in the skill bar. Long Fei took a look at it and excitedly smiled. Sure enough, with this skill, your father's defense is amazing. Haha, I've struck it rich. The holy artifact that was revealed was also not as cool as this set of skills. When the Firebolt King died, Long Fei immediately withdrew his ancient dragon body's power, and at the same time, his body sank. Huff! Blood stung the nose. Long Fei's face turned pale. She had to resist the pain, and blood leaked out from the corner of her mouth. The power of the 3-rate ancient dragon body cannot last for long. Huff, huff! Panting heavily, Long Fei's body felt as though it was about to be torn apart, and his mind felt as if it was being hollowed out. It was very hard. Long Fei forced himself to hold back. The time in the 3-rate ancient dragon body was not easy to control, so Long Fei was unable to accurately grasp the time. So even if it was an extra second, his body would still be in extreme pain. Even if the time was not passed, his body would still suffer from the pain, but it would only be slightly weaker. Long Fei's current cultivation could at most reach the 2nd rank as a dragon, but if he surpassed it, he would have to use his own body to bear the consequences. Long Fei sat cross-legged and began to recuperate. At this moment, the space between his eyebrows tightened, and when he opened his eyes, he saw 2 old men floating in the air not far away from him. An aura wrapped around their bodies. He floated in mid-air without moving, as if he was walking on flat ground. The aura around him was very special, just like the immortals in the movies. Long Fei's heart tensed up, and he stood up. The 2 celestial elders stepped in. Shwa! A slight ripple appeared in the air, and instantly appeared in front of Long Fei. One of the immortals looked at Fireball King lying in a pool of blood. His eyes were startled. He was secretly shocked, then looked at Long Fei and asked, "You killed the Fireball King?" The other immortal went up to the Fireball King and turned its body over. Long Fei replied respectfully, "Yes." The auras of these two old fellows were simply too strong. As of right now, when Long Fei entered the ancient world, he had never encountered such a strong aura, one that was even stronger than the aura on Ling Yuan's body. The cultivation level of the number 1 disciple in Sword Elf Mountain, Ling Yuan, was already at King Swordsman rank. But the auras of these two old men were even stronger than King Swordsman rank. Long Fei had to be careful. The old man stroked his beard as he looked at Long Fei with excitement. "Your cultivation is not strong, but this Fireball King's cultivation is at least at the Sword Saint Peak realm. Can you kill him?" The disparity in power was too great. This was simply impossible. Long Fei said, "Maybe it's my good luck." "Luck?" The elders smiled faintly. "Luck doesn't exist in this world. You should be an ancient cultivator, right? What's your talent?" The moment they entered the mountain, they felt an extremely powerful force. At first, they thought that it was some kind of powerhouse, but when they saw Long Fei, they were secretly shocked. Long Fei said indifferently, "I don't know." "You don't know?" The center of my brows twitched. "You must be a disciple of the ancient antiquity, right? You didn't participate in the intersect selection?" Long Fei replied, "No, the intersect senior brother S and elders did not let me display my talent, and I do not know what it is either." Long Fei did not know where these two fellows came from. There were many things that he could not say either, and he could only carefully deal with them. "That's strange. If this Fireball King was really killed by you, then your talent is truly terrifying. How could I not let you display your talent?" The old man said lightly. Another old man stood up and looked at Long Fei. He said indifferently, "Kid, where is the fire essence on this Fireball King?" He had just checked earlier that the Fireball King had the aura of burning fire. However, the fire essence hidden within his body had disappeared. Long Fei feigned a stupefied expression and said, "Fire element? What was a fire element? I didn't see it." The elder's eyes grew dark as he spoke. "If I were you, I would obediently take out the fire essence. That way, I would be able to preserve my life." "Brother Dong, it's just a fire yuan. Isn't that too serious?" The old man looked at Dong Tiankui. He was speaking up for him. Long Fei made him very interested. The swordsman rank killing Fireball King sounded impossible, but Long Fei was the only one inside the cave. This Fireball King was killed by Long Fei. Although Long Fei said that it was luck, there was no such thing as luck in this world. Dong Tiankui's eyes were still ice cold as he said, "Junior Brother Fong, you don't know that this fire element is a little special? Just now, I felt that this fire element is no ordinary fire element. Fireball King cultivated for at least 2,000 years before they managed to cultivate this fire elemental. Not only that, this fire elemental has absorbed the essence of the underground flame vein and has a powerful fire tribute energy. At first, he had thought that it was an ordinary fire element. However, he had only come down to get it for his disciple. However, when he had carefully examined it a moment ago, he had discovered that this fire element was not ordinary at all. It was all saint rank for his current cultivation. One could imagine the importance of this fire element. Fong Wampeng was shocked. He glanced at Long Fei and asked, "Will it disappear along with the death of the Fireball King?" Dong Tiankui immediately said, "Impossible. This type of fire element belongs to the spiritual treasures of heaven and earth. It would not disappear just because of the death of the host. It would remain in the body. The Fireball King does not have any fire element in her body, so..." Dong Tiankui looked at Long Fei and said, "Brat, it's better to give it up if you know what's good for you. Hand over the fire essence. I will have the outer door presbyter take care of you and give you more cultivation resources. You're not a fire elementalist, so this fire element is of no use to you at all." Dong Tiankui stared at Long Fei. Just now, Long Fei admitted that he had killed Fireball King. Thus, he was sure that the fire essence was with Long Fei. The appearance of a disciple of the swordsman rank in this kind of cave was already very special, no matter how strong his inherent skill was or how weak he was. Dong Tianke did not even put him in his eyes. What he wanted was fire essence. Fong Wanpong said indifferently, "Is there any other possibility?" He was still trying to excuse Long Fei. Dong Tianke said, "There are no other possibilities. The fire essence is with him. I can feel the aura of flames there." Long Fei's face tensed up, since he could not hide it from him. He had no choice but to admit it, but to get him to hand over the fire essence? How could a duck that was in the mouth fly? Long Fei was calm and composed, and said, "What if I don't hand it over?" "And if I don't?" Long Fei was very calm, as he stared at Dong Tianque. "And if I don't?" Long Fei was very calm, as he stared at Dong Tianque. And even making Long Fei spit out the thing he had obtained? This was impossible. If you hand it over, you won't be Long Fei. Moreover, although he could not use it, the brothers of 5 elements outside could. Dong Tianque's forehead turned sinister as the corner of his mouth revealed a cold smile. And he said, "Kid, being young and full of vigor is not necessarily a good thing. As a cultivator, you should be clear about the law of the jungle in this world." While they were talking, under his robe, his palm lightly moved. Power surged. The surrounding aura instantly changed. The gale under his feet rose up in all directions, and he could make his move at any time. He didn't try to cover it up. He wants to let Long Fei see. If he doesn't, you might be in danger of losing your life. Fong Wanpong stepped forward and stopped Dong Tianque. "Senior brother Dong, why fight with the junior? I'll talk to him." Fong Wanpong turned around and looked at Long Fei. He gave him a meaningful glance and said, "Little brother, take out the fire essence first." Without waiting for him to finish speaking, Long Fei immediately interrupted him and said, "I killed the Fireball King based on my ability, and I obtained the fire essence based on my ability. Why should I hand it over? Just based on your strength alone?" Dong Tianque sneered and said, "You're right. We are the ones who are strong." Long Fei said, "You are strong, but I'm not necessarily weak. You want me to hand it over?" "Bah, your father, will not hand it over." Long Fei was a little unhappy. Dong Tianque squinted his eyes, with killing intent in his eyes. The qi on his body turned sinister, and he took a step forward. Long Fei also frowned. Right now, he did not even know the cultivation levels of Dong Tianque and Yu Yang. Moreover, his body had not recovered yet. The ancient dragon body was currently in a cooled state, so if he were to forcefully use it, it would cause great harm to his body. "I can't use the ancient dragon body at this time." But Long Fei just did not submit. When life and death are indifferent, do as you please. A duckling's mouth could be given to someone else. The moment Dong Tianque took a step forward, Long Fei let out a light breath, and his mind tensed up. "Be careful." Fong Wanpong anxiously blocked Dong Tianque and said, "Senior brother Dong, no matter what, he is still a disciple of our ancient antiquity. It isn't good for you to do this." Dong Tianque looked at Fong Wanpong, and his pupils gently shrank. He was greatly surprised that Fong Wanpong was able to say such words. Fong Wanpong felt Dong Tianque's anger and said, "Don't be anxious. I'll persuade him again." Finished. Fong Wanpong then pulled Long Fei, who was walking to the side, and said, "Little brother, I know it is very disappointing for you to hand over the fire essence, but do you want to know whether the fire element is more important or your life is? Also, do you know who he is? He is the patriarch of the Horcrux's Gate. If you contribute the fire essence, he will definitely not treat you unfairly. Furthermore, I will give you some compensation. 102nd grade Holy Source Stones." How is it? 102nd grade Holy Source Stones was undoubtedly a huge sum of money. However, Long Fei did not believe Fong Wanpong. A black and a red face. "Are you all singing?" Fong Wanpong stared blankly for a moment. She knew that Long Fei had misunderstood his good intentions and said, "Do you think it's necessary for us to do this?" Long Fei was also not long-winded and said, "Don't say any more. I will not hand over the things. Either let me go or—" Dong Tiankui had already lost his patience and shouted, "Either you die here." Boom! His aura shook, and his strength was incomparably strong. It pounced towards Long Fei like a ferocious beast. Fang Wanpeng's eyes tensed up. He did not know how to react. Seeing Dong Tiankui's imposing beast pounce toward him, he still took a step forward, crossing his arms and directly blocking the oppressive beast. His body also retreated a step and said, "Dong, senior brother, I think that this matter." Dong Tiankui had lost his patience to begin with, and his own junior brother had even asked an outsider to stand up for him. In his heart, he was even more anxious and shouted loudly, "Fang Wanpeng, are you going to go against me?" Fang Wanpeng said, "Senior brother, why would I go against you? I only think that he—" Not even giving Fang Wanpeng the chance to speak, Dong Tiankui immediately interrupted him and said, "If you don't want to oppose me, then stand at the side. A mere outer court disciple dares to be so arrogant in front of me. It's your honor to not know what's good for you? No one will care if I kill an outer disciple like you." His voice was filled with rage and killing intent. His right palm blurred once again. His aura trembled. In an instant, the pressure on Dong Tiankui grew heavy. Boom! A loud explosion resounded. This time, the ferocious beast surrounded Long Fei from all sides. Long Fei was also furious in his heart. Looking at the ferocious beast pressuring him, his heart sank as he said, "Come, let's see who the F***K doesn't know what's good for themselves." Long Fei was raging. Weak meant being beaten. Weak meant being looked down upon. Weak meant being bullied and mocked. All in all, outer court disciples were still disciples. At least they were disciples of the sect, but were outer court disciples like ants in front of the Grand Horcrux's Gates sect leader. You want to steal the good stuff you have on you. Is it your honor to be praised as such? If it was any other person, they might have been robbed just like that. They might even have to kneel on the ground with their hands in front of them. But he is Long Fei. It was impossible for him to hand it over willingly. Moreover, was he weak? Dong Tiankui's eyes darkened as he said in a heavy tone, "You're courting death." As the sound of it faded, the 8 intimidating, ferocious beasts all pounced over. Roar, roar, roar. S body sank. It was as if his body had suddenly gained an additional 10 million gene, and the pressure was so heavy that he was unable to even kick it out. It was very hard. But Long Fei clenched his fists tightly, his teeth clattering loudly. The idea moved, releasing spirit of the Ghost King at the Fireball King that was not far away. Listen to my summons. Moo. In the air, the Fireball King let out a roar. Long Fei absorbed the Fireball King's soul into the Spirit King's body. Next, in that split second, Long Fei let out a heavy shout. "Come out, Fireball King!" Roar. The Fireball King was summoned. Both of its fists struck its chest, and the flame halo around its body was released. It stood in front of Long Fei and roared. Moreover, at this time, the Fireball King released a powerful attack. The tyrannical beast power forced the 8 ferocious beasts to retreat. Immortal stage, beast spirit. He actually summoned the soul of a Fireball King. Fang Wanpeng was even more shocked. He had thought that Long Fei was a little special to begin with, and now he felt that Long Fei was even more abnormal. Even though the Fireball King in front of him appeared like ghosts, but its strength was not weakened by the slightest bit. In fact, it was even more manic. The 8 intimidating beasts were forced back. Dong Tiankui squinted his eyes, becoming even more sinister and murderous. "You still dare to resist, right?" Originally, Dong Tiankui was already furious, but after Long Fei summoned his Fireball King and forced his beast to retreat, he became even more furious in his heart. Originally, Dong Tiankui was already furious, but after Long Fei summoned his Fireball King and forced his beast to retreat, he became even more furious in his heart. It could be said that he was infuriated. In an instant, his robes fluttered without wind, causing explosive sounds to ring out unceasingly. His aura transformed into supreme force. With a flip of his right hand, boom! The 8 intimidating, ferocious beasts disappeared in an instant. Dong Tianke stared angrily. "I'll let you resist." Roar. The 8 beasts that had disappeared suddenly changed, directly transforming into 8 giants, standing in front of Long Fei. He cupped his fists together. "Kacha, kacha!" The 8 giants held their fists tightly and looked down from above, like war axes as they slashed at Long Fei. He did not hesitate at all and almost shouted out in one breath. Space itself exploded. Cracks and moans continued to be heard. It was as if space was roaring. The Fire Bull King also roared, and its body became larger to fight back. Boom! Rumble! The Fire Bull King could not even hold on for a second, so with a punch, its body started to crack. With a howl, it shattered into pieces. Ding! System notification. The Ghost King Spirit has sent out a crack. Ghost Spirit Fire Bull King is dead. The Ghost King Spirit broke apart once again. The Fire Bull King was also instantly killed. "Get down!" Dong Tiankue roared. The 8 giants pressed down heavily, causing Long Fei's eyes to darken. "I will fuck your 18 generations of ancestors." Determination. Open. Long Fei roared out in his heart. He forcefully endured his severely injured body and released the Oxhead Chief's ultimate move. Roar. The aura on his body changed. Defense rippled. It directly covered Long Fei's entire body, and there was a seal wrapped around his body, revolving non-stop around his body. The scene was just like the cowhead moves in a game. Long Fei could do nothing about the 8 pressure giants, but passively defend. Resolve was something that the system had just rewarded, and it was also his strongest defensive strength other than the ancient dragon body. Rumble, rumble. The 8 great pressure giants smashed down, directly hitting Long Fei's head. Long Fei's body sank. Heavy. Rumble. The bones in his body fell as if they were about to break. His body sank even deeper, and the force of the 8 giant pressuring people caused his scalp to go numb. His entire body was in extreme pain, and blood started to seep out from every pore of his body. In almost an instant, Long Fei was drenched in blood. His clothes were soaked with blood. But Long Fei did not die, much less lie down. He bent his body, and his legs began to tremble. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth, and he panted heavily. Huff! The defense of the cowhead skill on his body was also shattered in that instant. "He's not dead yet?" Dong Tiankue's eyes opened wide, and the muscles in the corner of his eyes twitched. It felt like someone had slapped him in the face. It felt terrible, not physically, but mentally. He, a dignified powerhouse of the King Swordsman rank, actually, he couldn't even kill a weakling from the Swordsman rank. Furthermore, he did not manage to kill him in 2 moves. Although these 2 moves were not his strongest power, but, to him, killing 2 moves without dying was already a huge loss of face. To him, this was a humiliation. Even his breathing had become different. His nostrils had become the color of flames. He was a fire elementalist. Fire was his true strength. After not killing Long Fei in 2 moves, he was already infuriated to the extreme. The fire attribute energy surged, and his clothes also became the color of fire, as if they were ignited. It was true anger. Fong Wamping frowned. He just reacted from Long Fei blocking Dong Tiankue's attack. The shock in his heart was like a huge wave that flipped through the sky. A swordsman rank warrior could actually withstand an attack from the King Swordsman. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, who would believe it? This brat. Tutu. This is too rare. Fong Wampeng only started to love her, but he couldn't find a suitable disciple for her. Such a monstrous genius, like ancient antiquity, was not someone he could choose from. In addition, he liked to travel alone. He was just like a rogue cultivator in the inner sect. It was even harder to find a suitable disciple. He belonged to the category of people on the border of ancient antiquity. Seeing Long Fei, he already had a love for him and wanted to take him in as a disciple. When he had blocked Dong Tiankui's 8 great crushing strikes earlier, his heart had been extremely shaken. He wanted to take Long Fei as his disciple even more. Seeing that Long Fei was heavily injured, Dong Tiankui was furious and released his fire attribute energy. He wanted to attack Long Fei again, but Fong Wanping's heart tightened. We can't let him die. And then, his footsteps moved, once again blocking in front of Long Fei, and said, Senior Brother Dong, if there's anything you want to discuss, can you give me, Fong Wanping, some face? Dong Tiankui was already extremely angry, and did not pay any attention to Fong Wanping as he heavily shouted, Scram! If I don't cripple this brat today, I won't be Dong Tiankui. With his killing intent already resolved, how could he let go? At the same time, boom! The flames burst out from his body, and in a flash, the temperature of the entire cave soared like the sun. Long Fei's entire body was covered in blood, his blood boiling hot as white smoke continuously emitted from his body. His body started to tremble. However, Long Fei's eyes darkened as he said in a heavy tone, Come, this old man is still afraid of you. Never submit. If not for the fact that Long Fei used the power of the 3-rate ancient dragon body to deal with the Firebolt King, he would not even be able to endure for a second and would have immediately exploded out. However, his body was severely injured, and the power of the 3-rate dragon body could not be activated at all. Not to mention the 3rd stage, he could not even open the 1st stage. Long Fei clenched his teeth and persisted. All right, then how long can you be so stubborn? The flame suppression on Dong Tiankui's body moved. Boom! A fiery giant appeared. Wielding a war hammer, he slashed at Long Fei's head. Walala! A powerful flame swept out. The flames in the entire cave seemed to have retracted all of a sudden, condensing into a scarlet fireball, just like the fire elemental energy on the Firebolt King's body. Damage blast. Bang! Boom! Long Fei clenched his fists tightly. He roared furiously in his heart. However, it was just an angry roar. Looking at the extremely strong flame roaring at him, he tried his best to activate the power in his body. But, no, unable to activate. It couldn't be activated. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't release the power of the ancient dragon body. His serious injuries limited the release of the ancient dragon body. Seeing the flames falling down, Long Fei's eyes narrowed. Am I going to die here? I can't accept this. I can't accept it. Long Fei roared in his heart, but there was nothing he could do now. There was no way to do it. He could only watch as the flames crushed down on him. He could only wait to die here. Her eyes were glaring furiously. Long Fei's eyes was filled with unwillingness. His heart secretly relaxed. I want to die? At this moment, a figure flashed out. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.